Back here again at the noisy St. Louis Arena. Under the big dome, Rob Schick, the referee for our contest. And the line called the Scuds, the checkers par excellence, are starting for the St. Louis Blues. Brent Sutter, Jeremy Roenick, and Stephen Matteau for the Blackhawks. Brian Marchment and Chris Chelios, the defense. The Scuds are Kevin Miller, Rich Sutter, and Bobby Basson. And the defense, Zombo and Hedeken. Icing on Chicago. Nicknamed Eddie the Eagle, Ed Belfour. 28 this past Wednesday, his 19th straight playoff start for the Blackhawks. He led the league in shutouts this season with 7, but here's what he has to show for the last week. Guy who is nicknamed Cujo, Curtis Joseph. The crowd was bowing to him here on Friday night. He'll be 26 on Thursday this week. It's his 25th straight start. He's the leader in shutouts this week with 2. Chris Chelios takes over from the draw. Chelios still looking for some good, solid effort in this series in points. Got it ahead for Sutter, and a pass went across the net mouth wide. And the net dislodged, and an extra thump to go along with it. Rich Sutter and Matteau that time.
Well, it looks like the Hawks are going to drive to the net. Is Curtis Joseph concerned about something other than stopping the puck? Sutter barreling in there, keeps his legs driving. Hedekin's going to get the stick on him, but Sutter just keeps going. Good strength, good persistence, and the end result is the net coming off its moorings. Daryl Sutter switching his lines up a little bit today, trying to get some scoring punch. I would expect to see a lot of different combinations if the Hawks don't get on the board in this first period, Mike.
Daryl Sutter said yesterday, we have to play to our identity, to our personality, to what everybody knows us as. The Chicago Blackhawks, a tough, hard-nosed, firebrand kind of team.
Well, they're a real good team once they get the lead, but if you don't score any goals, it's very tough. It's actually impossible to get the lead, and Curtis Joseph has kept them off the board with a big hit by Marchment.
It'll cost. Delayed penalty call coming up to Chicago. Marchment's hit will send him to the box.
Well, Rob Schick says he didn't have the puck to St. Louis forward, and you hit him without it. You hit a guy without the puck, that's interference. And for that, Marchment is in the penalty box. But that's a big hit. Chicago wants to play aggressively, but they've got to stay out of the penalty box. That costs them. Not only does it allow St. Louis on a power play, as you see the big hit there by Marchment on Basson, it takes away the offensive flow the Hawks would like to get going, and as we mentioned, scoring goals has not been an easy thing for these Hawks.
Now, see, a hit like that is part of the Chicago personality.
It is, and it's a good hit. That's one of those penalties you should be able to kill. It's a penalty that's going to make the St. Louis Blues keep their heads up to the neutral zone. They won't be taking anything for granted. But you're in the first minute of the first period. You really want to give them a chance in the power play. That's when you have to use a little better judgment.
Okay, we have Shanahan with Janney and Hull up front. Emerson will be along with Brown, and the two of them play it. Sutter penalty killing along with Steve Larmer. And in back, it is Smith as well as Chelios. Larmer up with this one. Steve Larmer eyed up by Emerson. Controlling and playing a little four corners. On back for Smith, then across, but off Sutter. With Chicago bounce back to Chelios, and Chelios able to lift it down. Knocked loose by Brown. Oh, they tried to flip ahead for Janney. A delayed offside coming up, and now it's whistled down, so that would have not been a legal play.
Bob Berry has to be very pleased to see where his team is sitting right now. A lot of people had them dead in the water with about 6 weeks to go in the season. His patience, his persistence has paid off. He's got himself a real good opportunity to advance in the North Division playoff round. Deserves an awful lot of credit for this team's turnaround this year. He took over under adverse situation early in the season and just kept picking away his ideas until the players bought into it. They bought into it, and they've had great success ever since.
Latter part of February, 7 points out of the last playoff berth. But by the end of one spectacular weekend, victories over Minnesota and Chicago, and they were 3 points out. And 3 weeks later, they had 4. But the question was, could they keep it? And they didn't know until the final game that they played that they could. Chris Chelios lifts it back in. Nearly halfway through this power play. 18 minutes, 12 seconds to go first period. From the arena in St. Louis, there's no score. A pass ahead on to Janney. Hands to Shanahan. Brown is breaking. The pass is to him. Save made by Belfour. And he hangs on. The first big test for a goaltender today, and it comes on a St. Louis power play.
Tremendous passing play. Janney, of course, the quarterback gaining the blue line. Shanahan putting the brakes on, and he spots Brown, the defenseman, coming up late in the play. There's Janney to Shanahan. Watch Shanahan stop here. Now Brown's coming. This is the defenseman. As he goes to the backhand, Belfour stays right with him, gets the blocker down, and keeps the score at 0. That's a real good play by Jeff Brown, jumping up on the play like that. A misread by the Chicago defense allows him to come in wide side, and Belfour has to come up with a big save. That would be a devastating goal against the Hawks this early in the game, Mike.
When Darryl Sutter was speaking yesterday about team discipline and about the fact that he really felt the team had only taken 3 bad penalties in 3 games, he said, it's funny, our discipline tends to come from Ed Belfour and from Chris Chelios. And so often you don't think of a goaltender involved in team discipline.
Well, if you thought of a Ron Hextall for Quebec, you could probably put a goaltender that is involved in team discipline. Goaltenders that are fiery, fierce competitors, when they control their game.
Bozon shot it wide as it came on a crazy bounce off the glass.
It sets the tempo for the other players to control theirs. And I'm going to quit talking as this play's going on. Too many crazy things are happening out on the ice tonight.
Nice move by Bozon, who just missed an empty net. Puck popped right back in, and Steve Smith is up with it. Smith able to send it off the glass. 12 seconds for the Blackhawks to kill. All pass is flicked on by Feltner, but lifted back down. Down to the last 5. So Marchment made his impression, and Chicago did not get burned for it. Teams are back at full strength. Wilson's pass too far for Lowry, so he goes to get it himself. Rich Sutter around him. Hammered by Roenick. A strong hit by Jeremy Roenick. Drilled back in by Hedican. Stopped behind by Ed Belfour. Belfour fires it around, waiting is Hedican. Cranks a shot, and that one knocked down. Lowry sent to the ice. Roenick able to clear. Hedican drove it back on, but it's an offside pass. Play is stopped here at the arena in St. Louis. We are scoreless. To keep the ice as solid as possible. They like to leave it at about 17 degrees. Fred Corsi, who's the operations manager here, said that in 1978 they installed 16 huge air conditioners in this old structure, and if they turn them on in the morning when they anticipate it'll be a very humid day, which today is, with the temperature to be in the mid-60s, it helps keep the ice as good as they could possibly hope for. But the fans close to the air conditioners have to come and park it.
Well, we've got about 65-degree temperature outside and a balmy 52 in the arena today. It's a little frigid in here, folks.
It is Chelios to take it, but an icing call.
It's Chelios, the Hawk leader. Does it all for the Hawks, but they want him to score or at least set up some goals. He has a great shot from the point. The Hawks will be driving to the net on the rush, and I would expect them to crowd the net on point shots. Make sure they have at least 1, probably 2 guys in line with a shooter for the screen, for the tip, and for the rebound, and try to outmuscle the St. Louis Blue defenders. Chelios, Steve Smith will be a big part of that if it succeeds or fails, because they're the big guns on the Chicago Blue line. And we had one Sutter have an early summer, and there's a Sutter that is behind the St. Louis bench. Brian is gone, and Darryl is hoping he's not going to follow suit. And Brent, who is taking the face-off for the Hawks, is in Darryl's corner, but then there are 2 Sutter brothers on the Blues who just as soon see this series end right away.
They are the twins, Ron, who is scratched because of a shoulder separation, and Rich, who is part of the scud line that started the game. 16:34 to go first period. No score in the game. Down to the ice goes Brian Noonan. Murray Barron roughing it up with Matteau as Noonan's shot comes in on Joseph. So he has stopped 96 straight. Going back to last Sunday afternoon, Joseph has. All the way down for an icing touch-up that is made by Craig Muni. Puck shot over half the rink and touched first by the opposition constitutes icing, and so it'll be brought right back near Joseph.
Well, Stefan Quintel made a good play. You know the Hawks want to come in and forecheck. Matteau was coming, he was driving. Quintel a little pick to give his defensive partner some time, and you would expect them to protect Curtis Joseph the same way. I would look at the St. Louis Blue defense to knock the Hawks down as frequently as they can in front of the net. Clear the way for Joseph, let him see the puck. He's capable of stopping anything he sees.
Daryl Sutter was telling us that he'd like his team to shoot high, go up high on Joseph, because he tends to drop to his knees when shots are coming in. But in a spontaneous game where the puck comes on your stick and you've got a microsecond to decide, sometimes you just can't control it that
No,
way.
in a perfect world, you go in, you pick your spot, and you let it fly. But things happen so quickly out there, you're just happy to get the shot away and on the net.
It is Matteau, then behind for Noonan. Looks to the front, no one open yet. Noonan with a pass across, and it escapes over for the boards. We're going to get a penalty call coming up. It'll be a hold against St. Louis, and so the Blackhawks will get their first power play.
Matteau driving to the net. Barron gets bad body position. Matteau has a half a step, so he says, I got to pull him down. I can't let him get to my goaltender. And for that, he'll sit out the next 2 minutes.
Chicago on the power play in this series, 1 for 17. But as the third game wore on, they were getting some better opportunities. Chris Chelios was unloading some tremendous blasts, which is something, of course, he can do. But they were headed up higher and higher. He's one of the more accurate shooters and a great guy at picking his spots on where he wants to get it. We'll see if he gets that opportunity this time. He's number 7, and he's positioned right now to take a pass. But it's thrown to the front and deflected high to the corner by Kevin Miller. They battle the board. Steve Smith tried to work it along, and Miller dueling there with Joe Murphy. 2 aside, continue to jostle and work for it, and it's sent back down to the Blues.
Brent Sutter was set up in front of the St. Louis net. Joe Murphy had the puck along the boards, and he was signaling to Sutter to move. He needed an out. Sutter stayed there. He wanted the shot to come. It was deflected wide, and then the Blues, after a little scrum, were able to clear the zone.
Brent Sutter brings it ahead. Check that. It is Noonan, but it is cleared nonetheless by Brown back down. Sutter and Noonan and Murphy up front. Smith and Chelios in back. Brown killing with Butcher. Rich Sutter is out with Lowry. Rich Sutter nearly lost it at the front of the cage. Chelios with the keep across to Steve Smith. Drives one, and it went wide. Off now for Lowry, who clears.
The Hawks, when they break out of their own zone, are not beating any of the St. Louis forwards with a pass. So through the neutral zone, it's still a 3-on-4, 3 Hawks and 4 Blue defenders. That's not a good ratio for the Hawks.
Ruutu could not take it on the bounce. Zombo flips. Wilson has a man open. It's Kevin Miller. Wilson is in. The pass knocked wide by Smith. Blackhawks shift from defense to offense. They have 20 seconds to go on their power play. They have not gotten a shot on goal with it yet. Steve Smith walks it on. Has Larmer and gives to him. Across to Ruutu. Back to Keith Brown. Drive, and a save made by Joseph. Turned to the corner by Hedican, but played along by Smith. Around the roulette wheel it goes for Ruutu. On back now for Keith Brown, then Ruutu again. Penalty time is up. Teams back at full strength. Both power plays have failed. Wilson guides it around, but it's taken by Roenick. Right back to Ruutu, locked up by Ron Wilson. Under 14 minutes to play. First period of our contest here at the St. Louis Arena, and we have no score. Belfour taps to Marchment. It mans it on. Jocelyn Lemieux had it swatted away by Hall. Jeff Brown back to take it from Joseph. Brown's pass on the money for Basil McRae, who dances by one. Slowed down by Brown. Pass across is tipped loose by Lemieux, and back up with it the Blackhawks. Roy Murray angles one. Jocelyn Lemieux to play it. Hit by Brown. Behind for Murray. Puck left behind by Butcher, intended along by Joseph. Starting it back up is Jeff Brown again. Pass went through for McRae, but it was across 2 lines, and so once again the clock stopped. 3 shots for the Blackhawks, 1 for the Blues, and no score.
Well, they weren't great scoring chances, but Joseph was there to make the saves. Mostly long shots from the point, shots you could see. And a goaltender likes those long shots early in the game. It gets him the feel of the puck. He's able to make the saves, get some confidence. It's difficult when you don't face many shots, and the first 1 or 2 you face are point blank from the middle of the slot. So Joseph's getting into this game just the way he would like to.
The longest ever shutout sequence, 248 minutes, 32 seconds. It goes back to 1936, and it was only 2 games. Norm Smith of Detroit. The first game was 6 overtimes against the Montreal Maroons, and that's still a Stanley Cup playoff record. So he got 176.5 minutes out of that game, plus 1 more, plus part of a third. Murray Barron slows down Matteau. Drilled back off by Lowry. Basil McRae tried to flip it ahead, but it's taken by Brent Sutter. 12 minutes, 45 seconds to go, first period of our game, and we have no score. Matteau connects on with Noonan. Noonan slams one right into the catching glove of Joseph. Janney tips, but it is kept alive by the Blackhawks. Matteau over for Noonan's shot, and it got the glass. Now it's Chelios flipping one that's deflected by 2 players wide. Off for Janney, lifted back out, and Steve Smith goes to get it. Smith connects with Chelios. Pitchfork back in, but into the seats it sailed, and so play is stopped. The interesting thing about St. Louis is it appears to me they don't seem to force a certain type of game. They just kind of take what's out there and go with it.
Well, they have a blend of players. They have grinders, they have flow players, they have strong, tough players, they have guys that are fancy. So they throw a whole different game depending on the players that are on the ice at the time. Janney's going to play a much different game than a Rich Sutter. This line that you call the stud line, so affectionately known in St. Louis, will play a different game than Craig Janney and Brendan Shanahan.
Well, it is Muni turning this one along to Jeremy Roenick. Still looking for goal number 1 of the series. Roenick bounces one in, and it's Hedican to take it. Hedican got away from Roenick's big hit. Cam Russell to play for the Blackhawks. 12 minutes to go first period. Puck sailed out of play at the Blues bench, and so again we are stopped.
Bozone and Grimson mixing it up before the puck is dropped. We'll keep an eye on them. 36 for the Blues, 23 for the Hawks. A couple of big, strong guys. Separated.
Quiet for them right now. Keith Brown dumps it back in, and Joseph waiting. Sets it up. Taken by Zombo. Russell shoots one that ricocheted off Grimson. Jocelyn Lemieux. Boy, hit by Grimson on Basson, but Basson is able to take it. Now Lemieux locked up with Hedican. Lemieux trying to pull free. Jocelyn Lemieux fed one across, and Lowry has it. Lowry just drops it back down. Ed Belfour watching as we get an icing touch by Rutu. 4 shots Chicago and 1 St. Louis.
Yeah, the Hawks' Jeremy Roenick has not scored, but he has shown some tremendous checks in this series. And he just leveled Rick Zombo in the St. Louis corner. There's Zombo. He's going to drop his head, and then here he comes. That's a big hit by a courageous player, Jeremy Roenick. His speed and his leverage enable him to get so much power in every hit. He has tremendous balance. His body is always under control. So when he hits you, he's hitting you with a full force of all his weight, and it hurts.
Massachusetts-born Jeremy Roenick, one of 10 American players out of the 40 in the lineups of these 2 teams. 17 out of the 40 have played college hockey. Boy, at one time, college was a rare route to the NHL, although Bob Berry attended college in Montreal, and he was one of the rare exceptions back in the 60s, but now it's very common indeed. Rutu off this face-off, but it is lost to Nelson Emerson, who played at Bowling Green. Murphy lifted it back in, sent along on the bounce, and we get a stoppage of play and a slash indicated by the referee, Rob Schick. And who does he have?
Well, it looks like Murphy. It's a retaliation. Shanahan gave him a hit in the neutral zone, and as Brendan was skating away, Murphy came down with a stick. These are the types of penalties that hurt you. You just can't afford to take retaliatory penalties or talking penalties. You have to make it a good hit. Marchman's hit in the game early was a good penalty. That's sending some kind of a message to the Blues. A penalty like this, the only message you're sending is, I'm an undisciplined player on an undisciplined team, and that's the wrong message you want to send to your opponent. Here's Shanahan. It's a good shoulder hit. Now watch the stick come right there. Murphy and referee Rob Schick is right there to make the call. You have to pick your spots. If you have to wait a period and a half to get even, if you think you should, wait the period and a half. You don't have to get even right away.
Sutter and Smith and Chelios and Larmer are the penalty killers for Chicago. For St. Louis, Janney and Hull and Shanahan as before. Emerson and Brown as before, the power play men. Brent Sutter knocked that one down, still trying to fight his way free, but help came in the person of Hull. Brett Hull for the Blues. His team on its second power play. 90 seconds to go in the man advantage. 10:45 in the first, no score. The shots are 4-1 Chicago. Shanahan to Janney. Oh, and that one went off of Belfour and wide. Back now for Emerson, but he couldn't take it.
What a play that was. Hull coming up the ice. Shanahan right across the blue line. Then he gives it to Janney for the one-timer. Great passing by the Blues so far in this game.
Chelios tried to lift it out. That failed, so he'll carry this time. Chris Chelios headmans it back on for Graham. Dirk Graham trying to pick his way through. Can't do it. Halfway through the power play, Shanahan starting it back out. Brendan Shanahan tucked it back for Brown, then along for Emerson. Driven back in by Hull. Belfour sets. Chelios wraps it around Dirk Graham, and it's cleared back out. Under 10 to go in the period. 40 seconds to go on the power play. Penalty coming out.
Well, Nelson Emerson trying to buy a little bit of time for his goaltender, Curtis Joseph. Goulet's crashing in, and Emerson gives him a little hook, trying to hold him up. Goulet falls to the ice, and with 38 seconds remaining in the Hawk penalty, the Blues, Nelson Emerson goes in the box for 2 minutes. So we'll go 4-on-4, and there's Goulet crashing to the ice. Emerson trying to give Curtis Joseph that extra second to move the puck.
So far in the series, there have been 3.5 minutes of 4-on-4 hockey, and neither team has scored.
It's always interesting to me, 4-on-4, to see what type of players the coaches put out. You put out your offensive guys, you put out defensive players. The Hawks are going to be going on a power play in 38 seconds. So they're starting with Matteau right now and Roenick, and they'll give Chelios a rest and Smith, but you can bet around the 35-second mark there'll be a change, and the other offensive players will come out, and you see the Blues countering with two defensive players, Basson and Rich Sutter.
Zombo and Hedican are the defensemen. A pass through for Matteau. Matteau to the back now for Muni. Muni watched tightly by Rich Sutter. Puck knocked along by Roenick. Tries to get to it. Force further, and Roenick wedged off by Basson, but he escapes to try to play again. Jeremy Roenick wanting to battle free. Hedican on him. Pass to the front. Kick loose. Shot by Muni, and it's blocked off by Joseph. In 10 seconds, the Blackhawks power play will start. Zombo on a cross for Basson. His drive slowed. Ryan Marchman takes over for the defense of the Blackhawks, and it's Ruutu walking it ahead. Picks up Larmer. Ruutu trying to finesse his way through. Can't. Turned aside by Joseph. Bad angle shot off the outside of the goal by Larmer, and it's sent back out.
Well, I think that one hit the post, went right through the crease and stayed out. Joseph beaten, but they couldn't get the puck in the net. Chelios and Smith are on the ice for the power play.
Larmer moves in. Lots of time for the Blackhawks now. They still have a minute to go on the man advantage. Chelios back over for Larmer. Larmer watched by Kevin Miller. It's Chelios shooting one. It went wide, and just diving down on it is Joseph, and play is stopped. Let's hear from Tom Mees.
All right, Mike, we got a note here that Curtis Joseph on that save on the shot by Steve Larmer, making his 100th consecutive save without giving up a goal. Think about that. Brian Noonan had all 3 Chicago goals last Sunday at the stadium. The Hawks haven't scored since. Joseph making 100 saves right now and counting without giving one through the net.
Well, this is the save through a screen. And Joseph with the blocker keeps the puck in front of him, and he's been doing that very well and doing it with great ease. He seems to have an economy of motion in the net. He looks very confident. He's not overdoing anything. He's just getting his body in front of the puck. And that's all you have to do. You don't have to look spectacular. You just have to keep the puck in front of you to be an effective goaltender.
To the back it comes to Chelios. 45 seconds to go on his team's power play. Gets it back from Larmer. Right on him is Wilson, but it's played now along for Sutter. Sutter a pass, and Smith tightly checked by Wilson. Couldn't get a good shot away. The battle continues. Smith comes by to try to odd man it out, but play is stopped. Let's check in with John Saunders. John? So they've got an exciting one underway at the Meadowlands Arena. The same is true here. No score. 5 shots for Chicago, 2 for St. Louis. Still 34 seconds to go on the second Blackhawk power play of the afternoon. No score with 8:26 to go in the first. Steve Smith able to keep it. Gives over to Chelios. A jam up of players in front. Deflection by Sutter and a save by Joseph.
Oh, what a great save that was. The puck was deflected, not only changed direction, but came up high on Joseph. He was able to react, get his shoulder in front of it. Very alert goaltending by Curtis Joseph.
Brent Sutter bringing it on. Down to the ice he went. Moving in is Steve Smith. Poked back along by Butcher. Wilson unable to get to it. Sutter quickly on him, and it's Larmer's play to make. Right back over for Brent Sutter. Chopped at by Butcher. They scrap for it behind, and Roenick turned it along for Sutter. Penalty time is up, and Lowry drills it back down. There'll be an icing on this. Penalty box is empty. 7 minutes and 42 seconds to go in the first period. Scoreboard's empty, too. Heads are turning at the bench. It's a good sign. If the heads are not turning, that means the players have sort of checked out and they're maybe lamenting their situation. You often see that later on in games. But both the Blackhawks and Blues, of course, are into this one. No score. 7:35 to go in the first period. Craig Janney ahead. Janney shoved off. Good shot on goal by Shanahan. Rebound and another shot and another one by Hull that went wide. Oh, the Blues with their best flourish of the game. As on with it comes Goulet. Has Troy Murray breaking and dumps it to the corner. Graham the first one there. Flips one along. Up with it is Troy Murray. Right on him though is King Call. Murray pivots and then lays it around behind. Dirk Graham to take it there. Janney on him. Oh, he ricocheted one off Joseph, but Joseph is able to hang on and play it stopped. Well, the best thing in that case, if you're the goaltender, is not to move at all.
If you're going to move out a little bit away from the goal line just in case that puck is underneath you and behind the line. But I don't think Curtis saw this. The last minute, Dirk Graham's going to make a real good move here. There's the left post. Joseph comes over, post to post. He's good here, but it hits his blocker and then goes off his catching glove and almost deflects back into the net. Craig Janney's so very good on the rush. He draws 2 Hawk defenders to him. He's going to hang on to the puck, 1, 2, and there's Shanahan coming in late. Gets a good wrister, the rebound to Hall. That's blocked, and another shot just wide. But Janney draws so much attention. He's so adept at hanging on to that puck, gaining the blue line. It enables the forwards that are coming late to have a wide open crack because they're usually 2 Hawk defenders focusing on Janney. I mean, someone's got to be open. In that case, Shanahan, and Shanahan is not a guy the Hawks want to leave open, shooting at goaltender Ed Belfour.
The total of shots by Chicago impressive. Marchman a shot, and that one deflected high, pops loose in front, swept into trouble. A shot and a save made by Joseph.
Well, the frustration is mounting for the Hawks. They've had a lot of good scoring chances this period, and Joseph has been equal to everyone. And you know they're going to start pressing as this game wears on. This is a difficult thing for Daryl Sutter. What do you tell your team? There isn't much to change. There's Joseph making a save through a maze of players. Good concentration. Now he's going to recover right here. Gets square to the shooter. Down a little early. But Grimson can't get it up over top of him. The Hawks had 47 shots. Which part of your game do you want to change? It's a great game for 185 feet. It's just that last couple of feet getting it over the goal line. When you've got a 6'4" guy in there that leaves no room to score, it's very difficult and very frustrating for the Chicago Blackhawks.
Almost like plastic across the net, isn't it?
Really is. I mean, the guy has just been remarkable. And even when it looks like he doesn't know what he's doing, if he's lost the puck or he's off balance, somehow he makes the big save.
It is Bassett. But it is the Blackhawks that start back out. Big hit on Lemieux by Zombo. Boy, Zombo's had a strong series for the Blues defense. Joseph rips it around all the way to the back. It comes to Chelios. Trouble handling. Lifted along for Lemieux. 6.5 to go first period. No score in the game. Centering pass is tipped away from Roenick and sent back out, and Chelios will have to go get it. Shift change for the Blues. They bring out Nelson Emerson along with Denny Feltner and Kevin Miller. Miller still out from the scud line. Brown across to Butcher. Back up for Emerson. Emerson able to escape. Fidgets away from Noonan to Feltner, and a shot. Partly deflected by Matteau and wide. It is Noonan with 6 to go in the period. Back on now for Smith. Over for Matteau. But he missed for Sutter. Wheeled by Noonan, but right into Nelson Emerson. Noonan again checked by Denny Feltner. Butcher with a pass across now to Brown. Through Emerson and back down, and this will be icing if the Blackhawks get there first. And it has to be canceled by Belfour, who's bumped into by a teammate. The net's still vacant, but the pass controlled by Chicago. Brent Sutter connects on the wing to Stefan Matteau. Matteau sent one across, and it's deflected wide. Shanahan took the hit, but tipped it out. Emerson on for Ken Call, and in comes Murray Barron. Barron with a pass that's blocked. Barron trying to recover, but it's pitched right off the glass by Brian Marchment. And the Blackhawks squib it out to center ice.
That was a nifty play by Stefan Quintal. His stick was tied up. He just kicked the puck to the blue forward Shanahan.
McRae taken down by Dirk Graham. Fans upset it. A non-call by Rob Schick. It is Janney. To the point it comes. Hedican doubles one that slowed down. Trapped for it, and a cluster of players. Belfour traps it. But a penalty will be coming up to Chicago this time. 4:50 left in the first and no score.
Well, the Blues on another power play, and the fans certainly sending their energies down to the ice. They'd love to see their team score a goal, maybe Belfour. When the opposing goaltender is playing as well as Curtis Joseph is, it puts an awful lot of pressure on a goaltender like Belfour. And you add to that the fact that Chicago was the favored team in this series. Belfour was the best goaltender in the league this year. And there's an awful lot of pressure heaped upon him. He's played extremely well, but the other guy's been absolutely unbeatable.
And he still has not given up a goal in 7 days. Almost 7 complete days. It was about 2:30 Eastern time when Chicago last scored on him last Sunday. Third power play of the game for St. Louis. Shanahan and Janney, and this time Kevin Miller out on it, as well as Brown and Hull. And Brett Hull will have to go back to get it. The Blackhawks kill with Larmer and Sutter up front. And in back it is Smith with Chelios. Janney lays it for Kevin Miller. Miller drops it off to Shanahan to Janney. Drops it further for Brown. Brown along for Miller. Then for Janney. Chelios on him. Shanahan curls the net. Shanahan back for Miller again. Fans are chanting, shoot it, shoot it. Around behind, Janney again. Half a minute gone on the power play. Janney gives it up to Chelios. And back down.
Brett Hull is taking Nelson Emerson's place on the point in this power play. I don't know if Emerson is injured or not, but he's normally the guy out there. We'll have to wait and see what happens as this power play continues.
Rattled back in by Bolzon. Hull there, but it went by him. Kept alive by Brown. Intercept.
Brett Hull's on the point, but he finds himself in front of the net on this rush as Brown does a good job keeping the puck into the blue line. A giveaway by the Hawks. There's Brett Hull redirecting the puck. And a goal for the St. Louis Blues. Look at the positioning in front of the net. He's got his back to the goaltender, his stick's on the ice. He follows the puck all the way to the stick, and then he just leans that blade back a little bit. The puck hits it, and it rises up over the goaltender, Ed Belfour. And with 3:51 remaining in the first period, the Blues have a 1-0 lead.
third of the series on the power play at 16:09. So the Blues again have the first goal in the game. And they're going for the second. Wilson shot a save. Rebound. Lowry couldn't get it by. Turned to the front, but it's blocked by the defense. And a quick shot by Bozon is knocked down. Oh, the Blues really warming to the task now. Bozon behind, checked off by Murphy. Head around for Lowry. Lowry trying to turn away from Russell. Got it along through Wilson to Bozon. Hit hard by Keith Brown. Bozon again. One-hands it, and it's trapped by Belfour, and play again is stopped.
Well, that's just good one-on-one battling along the boards and in front of the Chicago goaltender, Ed Belfour, and the Blues winning a lot of those battles. Bozon showing good strength, fighting off Brown, and Brown is not an easy guy to fight off, and you wonder what's going through Daryl Sutter's mind. This is the activity around the net. Look at the Blues, beating the Hawks to the puck, getting up, out-grinding them. The play will continue behind the net, and you'll see Bozon here coming up. He's going to get back up on his feet. The play continues, and it's just muscle against muscle. And the Blues winning the one-on-one battles. And it's got to be a very frustrating time. Late in the first period, the Blues get a goal. The Hawks had some good pressure, good scoring chances. Joseph again coming up big for the Blues. But the Hawks really don't have to change much in the game. All they have to change is score some goals. Easier said than done.
Chelios goalless, so is Roenick. Goulet back on for Roenick again. Roenick drops it on back for Larmer. 1-0 St. Louis. Hall, his fourth of this series from Jeff Brown at 16:09. The official scoring on the lone goal. Belfour comes out of his goal to get it with a big goal stick, turns it along for Roenick. Pass flies across for Goulet. 2:40 left in the period, and Marchment cranks it back in. 7 shots apiece in the game. That means Joseph has gotten the last 102 in a row off Chicago sticks. Red Hennigan lofts it over the shoulder of Rich Sutter. Corralled by Smith and turned along to Matteau. Shift change on for the Blues. Blackhawks making a change too. Matteau up now for Brent Sutter. Moves in with Noonan. Noonan a drive, and it went wide. Miller hit hard, but the puck escaped back to neutral ice for Janney. Rolled along by Smith, but it's Kevin Miller up with it. Belfour out of his net to Colleran. It's Belfour, the Chicago goalkeeper, back along for Smith. Big hit on him by Basil McRae. Ruutu walks it back. Big shot is deflected away by Holland Brown. Brown forced it back off. Russell will crank it in. Minute 45 to go in this first period. Jeff Brown takes over. Shift change complete now for the Blackhawks. All fronts, but he got it to Janney. He's got it. Trailer McRae, but the pass behind him and Murphy. Ruutu starts it back. The Blackhawks have a 3-on-3 over for Russell. Russell the drop. Murphy controls. Lofts one to the corner. Wanted to go top shelf and high. Basil McRae with a big thump on Russell. And a 3-on-1. McRae bumped off by Ruutu, who had gotten back to help out. And as it turned out, he was the only one back with Ed Belfour. Emerson a shot. Juggled a bit by Belfour, but he'll collar it and hang on. 1:06 to go in the first, and the fans are standing again.
Couple of big hits by the St. Louis Blues result in turnovers, and the Blues relentless on the puck. Belfour has to come up with another great save. Quick shot, Nelson Emerson. But the Blues are not only throwing their weight around once they make the hit, and there's McRae hitting Russell. They're supporting the hit. You see 2 Blues in the picture there and only 1 Blackhawk. That means the Blues are supporting each other. They're near the puck, so the hit's made, and there's another Blue to get possession of that loose puck.
Chris Chelios up with it again for the Blackhawks. Final minute of play in the first period. Shots 8-7 St. Louis. Goals 1-0 St. Louis. Chelios along now to the turning Marchment. Ryan Marchment able to start ahead, escaping the checking of Felsner. Lays it too far for Lemieux, but catching up to it is Murray. Good bump on him by Zombo. Turning with it is Larmer once more. Steve Larmer trying to fight off Emerson. That doesn't work. Marchment scales one around, but Murray was checked off by Zombo, and they come back at each other again. The battle on in the final half minute. Zombo doing some tough physical work in the corner. A three-man scrum and play is stopped. And it becomes more than 3 men now.
When this series started, one of the Hawks' strengths going into this series was they felt that they would be better at one-on-one battles along the boards and in the corners. The Hawks have played a very grinding style all year long, including their goal scorers, Jeremy Roenick, very capable of grinding things out. But in this game, it's the Blues that are winning the one-on-one battles. Look at Zombo. Good strength, good leverage. Throws Murray to the ice. And still battling in there. Emerson right there to get the loose puck or help out. Goes in and helps out. We'll get a face-off. And it looks from about, I would say 7 minutes ago to this point, all St. Louis blue in this game. And that's not a good sign for the Chicago Blackhawks, Mike.
Larmer and Lemieux watching from the bench. 24.8 to go in the first period. For St. Louis, a defensive zone faceoff. And they have gone with one of their bigger, stronger centermen for this draw, Brendan Shanahan.
Well, Shanahan's very good. The draw is to the right of Joseph. Shanahan's a right-hand shot, so he's drawing on his backhand. That's his strength. You've got Ron Wilson out there who's a good man at face-off, so Shanahan should get tossed. You're not in any danger of someone else going in to take the face-off that isn't capable of winning a draw.
Brent Sutter to take it for Chicago. One false start.
And that's another thing the Blues are doing very well. The second guy has won a lot of face-offs. Loose pucks they're getting to. You saw Wilson there. He's beating his man to the open part of the ice. Noonan has to stop him from getting out to the point.
Jeff Brown takes. 20 seconds left in the period. Off a glass support, Matteau has it. Matteau watched by Ron Wilson, taken to the corner, nearly got Rob Chick in with it too. Stefan Matteau with a pass, drilled back around by Brown. 6 to go. Back is Smith. Icing with 1.2. And the clock ran down to .9.
Good restraint shown by Steve Smith. Lowry went in with a late hit. Both players knew it was going to be icing, but Lowry is sort of saying, well, I can't stop when I'm going this fast. I've got to just finish this check here. And Smith had an inkling to throw him to the ice. Here comes a hit here. There's an elbow right in the jaw. Now Smith saying, should I, shouldn't I? No, I better not. We're down a goal. I don't want to give them another cheap power play. So good judgment shown by Steve Smith. And with 9 seconds left, I don't think there'll be a goal on this face-off. But in hockey, you never know.
All right, now the strategy of this is just a conga line and a lot of muscle, isn't it?
Well, Belfour's pulled, but it doesn't really matter. It's not going to be a situation where the Hawks are going to be able to get it a rebound anyway, really. It's either going to go right in off the face-off, unless the guy that's starting the clock is a little slow on the trigger, but I wouldn't think he'd be very slow in St. Louis. I would think that finger will be pressed as soon as the puck is out of the referee's hand. So we have under a second left.
Well, the guy pressing the button is from Detroit today.
Yeah, but he's in St. Louis, and he still has to get to the airport and get a flight home, so he's not going to want to waste any time getting his finger pressed to start this clock.
Smith with a little muscle there, trying to jam it loose off the face of the team in front. And the horn sounds, and the crowd cheers, because their team has led at the end of this first period on a goal by their biggest star, Brett Hull. We'll return with our intermission report after this from our ABC station.
Daryl Sutter trying to get his troops raring to go here, wondering what he can do to solve their Curtis Joseph goaltending mystery, and so far they've come up blank.
Ed Belfour watching at one end, the end to our left, and Curtis Joseph at the other. No carryover penalties or power plays here at the start of the second period. Brett Hedican out of the U.S. Olympic team tried to get it by Chris Chelios, who was on one of those teams as well. But it is played by Marchment. Larmer tried to send it up the wing, but it is Rick Zombo just floating it back in. Chelios and Marchment the defense. Larmer playing along with Jeremy Roenick. And across the way, wanting to yank that one free, was Jocelyn Lemieux. They're able to muscle it back out, but Hedican cancels. Follow-up came from Roenick, and it's Zombo back to take it. The Blues start this period with the heavy checking scud line. Centering pass kicked away by Hedican. Another one in front. Quick shot knocked down. And played by Hedican. Not a flashy play. Blackhawks looking for any kind of goal, whether it's clean or dirty, and they almost got one there as they had Brent Sutter in front. But here's Muni, wrapping it on around. Brent Sutter drilled it out, played by Butcher, flipped along to the pivoting Janney. Then across for Jeff Brown again. Muni drives it back out. Follow-up comes from Butcher, taken on by Noonan. Ryan Noonan just rolled it in, and then he sent Garth Butcher flying with a hit. Jeff Brown on the pivoting stick of Janney. Basil McRae trying to pull free to come up the wing, and he's open. Janney pivots. The feed came for Holland-Mick. Butcher, a shot that went wide. And Sutter drilled it back down. It'll be an icing touch-up coming from Brown. What are the St. Louis observations on this first period? Head coach Bob Barry with Tom Mees earlier.
Bob, your goaltender continues to be the story of this game and the series.
Well, he's played so spectacularly for us the last little while, and hopefully we can rally and get him some offense because he's been just spectacular.
Is there anything your team did in the first period you didn't like?
Well, I think we can play a little bit more in our end. I think we played a little bit, especially the first 10 minutes, a little bit too much in our end.
There goes the foghorn. You better get going. Brett Hull's goal has St. Louis on top. Hull's fourth to the playoffs. The Blues lead it 1-0 at the end of the second period.
There is a good deal of racket down there. They love their Blues here in St. Louis. Visiting teams have even gone to earmuffs here before, but that was a long time ago. When Red Kelly coached the Pittsburgh Penguins, he and his trainer and several of the players tried earmuffs, but when they were down to the then very powerful Blues 5-0, they took them off. And the game didn't get any better. Barron to McRae. Craig Janney dealt back in, and Basil McRae behind. Stood up by Chelios. McRae trying to pull it free but can't. Flipped off by Ruutu. Murphy knocked it down and scrapped with Emerson. Able to nudge it over for Dirk Graham, the captain of the Blackhawks, and he brings it back up. Ruutu couldn't get his way by Rick Zombo, who ices the puck. Deliberately played start to the second period here.
The game has really not had a great offensive flow. Most of the offensive chances have come in spurts. It's been very tight checking, as the shots would indicate. 9-8 right now for the Blackhawks, so it hasn't been wide open. It's a situation where neither team wants to make that big mistake. They're playing kind of a preventative game. I think this sits well with the Blues because of the goaltending they've been getting from Curtis Joseph. I mean, if they're going to win a game, 1-0 is a game they can win the way he's been playing. The Hawks, I think it would be to their advantage to maybe open it up a little more. They're hitting a lot. It might be better if they just start skating, moving the puck, and trying to throw speed at the Blues instead of muscle.
Murray for the face-off with Bassett. I'll ask you a question about the next goal in this game. Oh, we've got a moment. If the Blackhawks get it, do you think it'll tighten the game up even more the way they're playing it, or will it open? We'll get to it in a moment. Russell, a shot blocked away by Rich Sutter. Thrown along by Kevin Miller and back out, and Rich Sutter was hit hard from behind by Russell. Along now for Roenick. And if the Blues get it, does that force Chicago to open up more, even though it's still early in this game? Early in the second period, 1-0 St. Louis on a power play goal by Brett Hull. Roenick stood up by Rich Sutter. Hedican flips it back out. Cam Russell just drills it back around, and Joseph deflects, but right to Hedican. Hedican banging it back off Rich Sutter. Russell with a shot, deflected, it went wide. Roenick sent flying. There'll be a penalty coming up to St. Louis.
Looks like Rob Schick's sending a couple of guys to the box right now. He's pointing at Grimson, but the first altercation came in front of the St. Louis goal. And Brett Hedican is making his way to the penalty box. You see him right there with a big hit on Jeremy Roenick. Clearing Roenick again. The Blue defender's doing a good job of allowing Joseph to see any shots that are coming from the point, but that time too vigorously. And Hedican will get a penalty, but the Hawks even it out because Grimson is in the box alongside of him. Getting back to your question about the goal, you wonder what would happen to the Blues psyche if the Hawks could score. Now they know, okay, this shutout thing, the string has ended. That 100 and whatever minutes, it's over. And you wonder if there would be a little bit of a psychological letdown. I'm sure it would be a big lift for the Blackhawks if they could get one past Joseph. For the Blues, I think the second goal, they would continue with the same game plan that they have played to start this game. It's been successful for them. They haven't given up many good scoring chances in their own zone, and they've created some good offense. They're ahead by 1 goal, so I don't think the game would change much on a Blues goal. I think you may see a big change on a Blackhawk goal.
Well, here is Chelios ranking a shot and a save made by Joseph, and he'll wait. He could see it all the way. 1-0 St. Louis early in the second period. They're ready for the resulting faceoff. Sutter and Shanahan and Larmer, and then back to Chelios. Chelios with a pass and a shot. Score! Sutter! And the game is tied at 1. And the fans are standing here at the arena to applaud Curtis Joseph. 174 minutes and 18 seconds of shutout hockey.
Well, it starts with a 1 face-off for the Blackhawks. Back to Chelios on the point. He makes a good job moving up the boards. And then Sutter's going to position himself very well in the slot for the one-timer. You see Sutter moving now, and he wastes no time cranking this one past Curtis Joseph. See 1, 2, 3, 4 players in line with a shot there. 2 Hawks and 2 Blue defenders. And you have to wonder how well Curtis Joseph could see that shot. But now, I think the Chicago Blackhawks will pour it on the St. Louis Blues, Mike.
A 4-on-4 goal that came while Grimson and Hedican were in the penalty box, where they are still for another minute 35. Ed Belfour turns it along. Chelios wedged there by Bassett. Still they scrap for it. Help had to come from Roenick. This time did not. Miller stepped into by Marchment. Chelios along now. Joe Murphy given a good hit by Zombo. Falling is Rob Schick, the referee. Wrapped along, and the keep by Barron. Angled one for Miller, and it came to him. Tucked it out in front, but no Blues were there. And flipped back off. Barron laying it back across for Zombo. That's there by Chelios. Cole with a shot and a save made by Belfour. He got the pad on it. Down to the ice, Rutu. Off the ice will come Lowry, and the Blackhawks will get a power play.
Well, Dave Lowry did a pretty good job of catching up to Christian Rutu. Lifted his stick, stopped his progress, and took the puck away. But it looks as if he got the stick a little bit in Rutu's face. And I don't know if that was good back checking or a weak penalty call. But I thought Lowry had a pretty good effort there. Here's Brett Hall when he cranks it up. Look how far Belfour is out. Way out of the crease, cutting down the angle. Good goaltending by Eddie Belfour. He's going to challenge Hall. He's going to challenge him on this shot. And this is the penalty. Boy, I don't know. Kind of iffy in a 1-1 game, but from Schick's angle, he thought it was a penalty. He made the call, and the Hawks going on a power play, 4-on-3 with 53 seconds left in Hedican and Grimson's penalties.
Lowry the hook at 4:06. Chelios and Larmer the assists on Sutter's goal at 3:09. Now, what type of player do you have out in a 4-on-3 if you're Chicago coach Darryl Sutter?
Well, you've got your offensive people out there. He's got Larmer, Sutter. Sutter can win the face-offs, and the 2 big shooters at the point. You've got Chelios and Smith. And Wilson is the premier penalty killer for these Blues. Brown and Butcher. Brown is big, strong, and mobile. Butcher big and tough. So Butcher will probably set up in front of the net trying to move the Chicago forwards. And Brown and Wilson will do most of the movement in the St. Louis zone.
Offside called on the Smith dump-in. Well, Curtis Joseph fashioned a very impressive stretch. 174 minutes and 18 seconds. And he hasn't really been at this on a professional basis that long. A year at the University of Wisconsin, another year divided between the Blues and their farm team in Peoria, Illinois, and 3 full years here in St. Louis. And the reference is to Jacques Plante, whose shutout string, a club record, was broken last game by Joseph. Chelios moving it ahead. Along now for Sutter. 27 seconds. Both teams will get a man back. Smith crunched by Butcher. Off behind. Brown trying to take care of Sutter. But that doesn't work as it comes along to Smith. Off a glass support. Butcher hacks it back down.
Steve Smith had time. If he hurries to that puck, he can get it back to the point. An easy pass to Chelios, but he got there late and had to just dump it back into the corner.
Larmer to Sutter to Chelios for a drive, and a save made by Joseph, and he's able to cover, and sprawling was Sutter. The puck popped loose, and Brown able to dump it along. Both teams a man back, and Hennigan on a breakaway. Lord shoots, save made by Belfour. Man, oh man, Hennigan had just come out of the penalty box. A St. Louis bounce there, but a Chicago save there. Murray Barron back for this one, closed off by Marchment. To the slot it comes, poked away by Miller. One-on-one, Rich Sutter with Keith Brown. Miller trying to get into the play. Down to the ice he goes. It is Ruutu as play continues. On now for Graham. Hands back to Ruutu. Eyed up by Barron in this 1-1 tie. Chicago still the power play, and Ruutu's shot blocked aside by Barron. Thrown back off by Zombo. 20 seconds still for St. Louis to kill. Game tied at 1. 14 minutes and 10 seconds to go in the second period. Big Keith Brown lays it ahead for Ruutu. Eyed up by Murray Barron. Big hit by Zombo. Graham in front. A rising shot got the glass. Russell dumps it in deep. Played there by Zombo. Closed off well by Graham. Help came from Roenick. Has Chelios, but he's well watched. Roenick hammered by Lowry fresh from the box.
Oh, baby, what big hits are being thrown on that ice right now.
Basson put one into Russell. And play is stopped on an offside with 13:36 to go in the second period. The fans are standing to applaud this game, and they'd be standing in Chicago too. Has it ever picked up here in the second?
Well, from one end to the other, there's a big save by Joseph. Scrambling for the puck. And then the Blues, Nelson Emerson, get it out. Hennigan right out of the penalty box. And again, Belfour way out, backing in. Makes Hennigan make the first move. And he stays with a shot. Christian Ruutu's going to drop his head. Whoa, baby. And Rick Zombo is going to attempt to take it off. That's a big league hit, folks. Hello, how you doing? Enjoying the game? Well, we are too, aren't we, Michael?
This is sensational. Youngster may be seeing his first ever game. I remember the first I ever saw. I'm sure you do too. The whole world sort of opens up in competitive sports if you've not seen hockey before. There are a lot of places in the U.S. to see it now. The various developmental leagues as well as the NHL. Only about 17 of the 50 states do not have professional teams. Centering pass cut off by Zombo. Roenick right on him, and Shanahan dumps it back out. Steve Smith laid it in. Joseph set it up behind. Zombo takes on there. Pass guided across by Janney. Hull tightly watched, and a big hit on him by Smith as Grimson was checking Hull. Stu Grimson tried to tap one ahead. That failed. Poked away from Zombo, and Zombo spun it back out. 12 minutes, 50 seconds to go, second period. Our game here in St. Louis is tied at 1. Shanahan kicks it along. Janney tried to get it further. That failed. Back on with it is Matteau. Eyed up by Zombo, and Matteau able to get by. Trickled one on the backhand through the crease. Chelios given a hit by Bozon. But Chelios, a backhander, is saved by Joseph, and the net dislodged. Play is stopped here at the arena in St. Louis, with the game tied and a goalie shaken.
Chicago's Chris Chelios driving to the net, and that's going to draw a crowd as the Hawks maintain their pursuit. Now watch Chelios keep going here. Joseph's left arm is going to get pinched between the goalpost and Chelios. Chelios keeps driving the net. And Curtis Joseph was shaken up a little bit, but he seems fine right now, Mike. Chelios, a big, strong guy with a good scoring touch. He will be pressing from the point. We expect to see more of Chelios doing that because the Hawks have to score some more goals if they're going to win this contest.
They have come dressed in all ways to this arena in St. Louis. The biggest crowd they had here all year was 18,173. That is almost 1,000 over capacity. So they stand around here. We're guessing it's close to that today. More delays on the faceoff. There were several of these in Friday night's game. Randy Mitten inadvertently became a marked man from the fans because he wanted to have the faceoff absolutely perfect. Chelios fires it back in. Around to get it is Roenick. Stepped into by Rich Sutter. Puck brushed away, not out. Marchment cranks a shot. Knocked down in front. Rich Sutter trying to steer it away. Roped along by Roenick to Lemieux. Jocelyn Lemieux shakes it on back for Chelios' drive, and that went wide. Around for Marchment. Lays it around behind for Lemieux. Hit by Brown, but escapes. Lemieux continues to circle. Jeremy Roenick with it there. To the back to Chelios again. Dumps one in front, turned aside by Joseph. This is full-strength hockey, but right now it just doesn't look like. As the Blackhawks were able to get set up just like they would on a power play. Oh, and a hit on Marchment as he went back for an icing touch-up.
Oh, man, he went into the boards hard. Rich Sutter was trying to reach underneath him to touch that puck before Marchment got to it to prevent the icing. But he caught his skate a little bit. Marchment went into the boards extremely hard.
This did not look good, and it sure did not sound good either. Marchment going back for the touch-up, and listen.
You can see Sutter's stick take the feet right out from underneath Marchment. And the trainer's there. It looks like the doctor has come out. Oh, man, he went into the board so hard. The bottom part of the boards, too, there's no give down there. Some arenas you get a little give in the glass, a little bit in the upper part of the boards, but when you go into that bottom part, that is rock solid.
Mike Gapsky is the man in charge of taking care of the Blackhawks. He's the man in the red, white, and black uniform, and Dr. Louis Kolb is the team physician in the gray suit. Sutter is already in the box. They have not put up his penalty time yet. While they tend to Marchment, let's tend to John Saunders.
Scoring jersey.
Can't do it. Can't.
Let's check in with Tom Mees. Tom?
All right, Mike, thank you very much. The injured Chicago player was helped off. They were checking out his lower left rib cage. Lower left rib cage was the part of the body that really took the brunt of the hit into the boards. And, of course, we'll be going back to Chicago locker room and get an update for you just as soon as possible. But I'm telling you what, you get hit real hard in this part of your body right up against these boards that have no give. It can knock the wind and a lot more out of you. Mike?
All right, thank you, Tom. He'll keep an eye on that situation and update us. One more look at it as you saw Rich Sutter in the box.
Sutter is a feisty competitor, and he'll hit you hard, he'll run you, he'll do a lot of things. I do not think, however, he intended to take the skates out. I truly believe he was reaching underneath to try to touch that puck. Sutter knows how devastating a blow like that can be. He's not a happy young man in the penalty box. We've got some unsportsmanlike conduct penalties being called because the player scrummed after that. Went over to Rich Sutter. Of course, all the Hawks are going to gather a big crowd to let them know that they don't like to see that done to their teammate. And then the Blues come in because Sutter is a well-liked guy on his team, and they're going to defend him. And the referee Schick put him in the penalty box, and that'll cool things down. We'll get things sorted out. The play should get underway pretty soon here.
Power play about to begin for the Blackhawks. Let's check out the Visa storyline of this game. The storyline are two Sutters involved in the last sequence of shots that you saw. That was a family picture, but here we have up on the wall a Sutter goal. That's a Chicago Sutter, answering one on the power play from Brett Hull. Curtis Joseph's streak ended on Brent Sutter's goal. So we're 1-1, and Brent Sutter will be the guy who is out on the ice to take the face-off, while his brother sits in the box. And another brother coaches in this NHL Sutter division, also known as the Norris and next year the Central. Off this face-off, it is Brent Sutter controlling. Alley formed quickly, but it also closed quickly. Smith sent it along to Roenick. In front to Sutter. Blocked down by the defensive Jeff Brown. Scramble for the puck, and up with it is Roenick. Jeremy Roenick back out to Chelios. Chelios cranks the shot. Save made by Joseph. Rebound picked up by Brown. Rob Schick got tangled up in all the traffic. Roenick trying to get loose. Hit by Wilson. 5 men scrapping for the puck in close quarters. Emerging with it is Roenick. Stoppage of play.
Boy, oh boy, the battles just get more intense with each shift, Mike. Curtis Joseph coming up with another save off a deflection. Murphy standing just to the left as the shot comes in from the point of Curtis Joseph. Joseph really doesn't come out real far to challenge. A lot of goaltenders, coaches like to see them come way out, make sure they're challenging the shooter. Joseph stays well back in his crease, and yet he makes save after save. And even there, he's back, the puck's deflected, but he's able to get his pad. You see, he's not way out for this point shot. There's the deflection and the swipe at the rebound, and then Brown and Murphy start tangling up along the boards. And in comes Ron Wilson, a longtime veteran and great leader for these Blues. And there's the pass that pushes the net off.
As promised, Tom Mees has been checking on Brian Marchman's condition, Tom.
All right, Mike, I just spoke with the Blackhawk trainer, Mike Gamsky, and I tell you, hockey players are nothing if not tough. Marchman is sitting up. He has some sore ribs, but I understand he's going to be okay, and they say he will return to this hockey game. Good news for the Chicago Blackhawks, Mike.
And good news for the sport.
Never a doubt in our mind. Gutsy performer, courageous hockey player, Marchman. He'll be back, and he'll be throwing his weight around before this game's over.
It is Chelios, and off to Ruutu. Minute 20 left power play. Ruutu's pass knifed away by Zombo, thrown back around by Steve Smith. Farmer had trouble, but Ruutu did not. So he gave it up to Zombo. Zombo with a little time and space, and that's enough to clear.
That was a real good read by Zombo. He saw Ruutu looking for the cross pass. The seam was open. Zombo anticipated the pass. He moved up, and he deflected that out of the way. It would have been a one-timer, and Noonan has just received a penalty. And he's gone to the box, and I believe the signal I saw from Rob Schick was high sticking. We'll wait for the call. It's roughing.
Well, that takes care of Chicago's power play, and in a minute 8, barring further penalties, the Blues will have one of their own.
They're the type of penalties we're talking about. You have to eliminate. You're on a power play. It's a 1-1 game. Halfway through the game, 10 minutes left in the second period. You don't want to take a bad penalty. Roughing in the offensive zone as a puck is being iced is a bad penalty, and I'm sure that young Noonan realizes that.
Janney and Shanahan, Hedican and Zombo are the 4 out for the Blues. The last time there was a 4-on-4, Chicago scored. They will use Ruutu and Chelios, as well as Graham and Smith. And Chelios takes. Joseph and Belfour, the goalkeepers again this afternoon. St. Louis ahead in the series, best of 7, 3-0. Zombo shoved off by Ruutu. Puck taken by Graham. Along to Ruutu again, and Zombo trying to wedge him out, but doesn't. Ruutu once again wheels one in front. Smith sent it wide. It is Shanahan to play it for the Blues. Back around for Zombo and then to Hedican. In 38 seconds, the Blues power play will begin. Janney with a tip back out. Ruutu just skyhooks it back to the corner. Brett Hedican back to take it out of St. Paul, Minnesota, member of the U.S. Olympic team in 1992. He just waits behind his own goal. This is all advantage stalling time for the Blues because their power play will begin now in 15. But they've given it up. Brown with a pass around now for Murray. Troy Murray's shot is ricocheted back out to neutral ice.
Strong shift by Rick Zombo ends with a good block. off of Troy Murray's stick.
Here's Larmer firing, and that one went off Joseph. Good shot by Larmer. Controlling is Murray. Keeps it in. Hit from behind. Loose puck picked up by Zombo. Power play time has begun for the Blues. Ahead with it comes Basson in this 1-1 tie. Trickles it in on Belfour. Scoops along with a big goal stick for Larmer and a pass back out for Dirk Graham. Now it's the Blackhawks who want to try to kill off time. Graham checked off by Paintal. Floats one across that's taken by Keith Brown. And Brown just laid one off Rutu's stick. Emerson back out. Shanahan with a man breaking. It's Janney. Shanahan controlling, and a shot is saved by Belfour. Rebound. Hall pumped it over the top of the net. The tiebreaker was there, but it flopped up over the top of the cage, and still they battled for it. Belfour wanted to get play, stopped, could not in front. Holland drive, deflected on. Belfour reached out with the stick. A slow-moving puck, but there wasn't much reach left for Ed Belfour.
Chicago's Ed Belfour doing everything he can to keep this score at 1-1. One save, another save over the net by Hull. And finally the puck came out. Belfour made another big save and jumped on it. And the whistle went. But good action by the Blues on their power play. There's Eddie. Get the stick out, freeze it. Let's regroup here, boys.
2 seconds left on the power play to the Blues. The shots are 8-3 Chicago in the period. 15-11 so far in the game. The goals are one each. Hall and Sutter for St. Louis and Chicago, respectively. That's Brent Sutter, and he'll take the faceoff. You see him, number 12. Ron Wilson will draw it for the Blues. Lowry and Hull are his wingers. The blasters in back are Butcher as well as Brown. Chelios. Brown flicked it, but into the seats, and that takes care of the shorthand situation for Chicago. And then Sunday, more hockey. Chelios' pass knocked away by Wilson. Lifted back out. Sutter given a good hit by Butcher. Cam Russell turning back. Off of Butcher, Matteau hit by Bozon. Ryan Noonan trying to turn, and Lowry dogging him every inch of the way. Ron Wilson reaches it on back now for Brown. Big blast from 90 feet, eaten up by Belfour and taken by Chelios. 8:24 to go, second period, game tied at 1. The Blues have it and throw it to the corner. Dave Lowry in there, shouldered with Sutter. Puck flip back on, and it's Matteau to start it ahead. Right on the money for Noonan. Watched there by Butcher on defense. Breaking is Matteau. Noonan's pass is slowed. Jeff Brown can start it back. Bozon was hit high and hard by Smith. It'll cost the Blackhawks a pair. Delayed penalty call. Butcher across now to Lowry. Smith tried to cancel that out, could not. Bozon behind. The Blackhawks have to touch, and finally they have, and so St. Louis will get another power play out of this.
Well, it's another interference call. Bozon going up the ice with his head down, and Steve Smith does not miss the opportunity here, but Bozon does not have the puck, Steve. Oh boy, does he ever hit him. He gets a stick, clotheslining him right around the helmet. And another penalty for the Hawks. Good offensive flow going for them. They were out shooting the Blues. They were playing a lot of the period in the St. Louis zone. They've taken themselves out of the offensive flow. It's nothing the Blues have done. The Hawks have done it themselves by taking some undisciplined penalties.
Well, it may have felt good at the time, but it doesn't now.
Look, he knows. He's shaking his head. I mean, you just can't keep doing it. It's like shooting yourself in the foot. You only get so many chances. You only get so many chances at power play opportunities. You only have so much time in a game when you have a good offensive flow, when guys are fresh and guys are jumping. You don't want to end it yourself. And there he is. There's a courageous hockey player, folks. Brian Marchment making his way back onto the ice. The fans are booing, but I'm cheering. You're a gutsy kid. It's nice to see you back.
The guy that Darryl Sutter said had been his best defenseman in the last 6 weeks of the season. Let's check out the Budweiser scoreboard. Still, New Jersey leading. Late in the second, 1-0. Pittsburgh ahead in the series. Calgary and Los Angeles, This afternoon, Detroit and Toronto, Vancouver and Winnipeg tonight.
Brent Sutter coming on the ice, defensive zone face-off, wants to make sure everything's the way it should be. Rutu's going to go off. This is a big kill for the Hawks, a real big kill. One of the things we thought before this series started, the Hawks were good at scoring shorthanded goals, especially with Nelson Emerson on the point of forward, who isn't as adept at playing 2-on-1s and 1-on-1s defensively. We thought they might have some shorthanded opportunities, but Emerson has done a good job offensively and defensively for the Blues. And he's on the point again with Jeff Brown. Daryl Sutter wanted to make sure everyone knows their defensive assignments for this face-off. Someone from the top, one of his assistant coaches, may have seen something as far as the St. Louis setup, a set play off the draw, and he wanted to warn all 4 players on the ice, make sure they're all aware. Chris Chelios slow to get in. He wants to make sure everybody knows their assignment before this puck is dropped.
Won by the Blues, but they must play at center ice. Emerson and Brown, Janney, Shanahan, and Hall for the Blues power play. Brown plays the heart around. Shanahan stopped it. Jostled off, and the Hawks try to clear, but cannot. Brown brushed it back in and will have a stoppage of play on an offside. The puck must precede the attacking team over the blue line, and there were 3 Blues still in.
There's the big shooter for the Blues, Jeff Brown. Very quietly had a spectacular season this year. Scores a lot of goals for the Blues, and he's a big reason why their power play is so effective. Not only does he have a hard shot, he gets it away quickly, and it's extremely accurate, so it's always around the net. And he keeps it low, so forwards don't mind going there. It gives them a chance to tip the puck, screen the goaltender. And you're rifling pucks up around forwards' ears. They're a little hesitant to stand in front of the opposing goaltender on point shots.
He's experienced, but not old. He'll be 27 on Friday. A tip for Janney, and that would have been an onside play. Thrown back off by Belfour. Larmer trying to clear it out, can't do it. 1:15 left on the Blues power play, but Chelios up with it for the Blackhawks and sends it back down.
And that is a set breakout play, a great play, a long play up to Shanahan, just a tip to Janney. It goes from inside the Blues zone all the way to the blue line.
Here's Janney this time, giving it back to Emerson across to Brown. Shoots one, blocked by Belfour, and another stop by Ed Belfour, and he hangs on.
I like that play. I really like that play. Shanahan at center, a little tip, keeping it onside to Janney. Boy, it's just an inch away from a breakaway for Craig Janney. Nice play by Shanahan and Brown.
So not everything is really spontaneous.
Well, the reaction is, but you still have some set things to look for. Belfour looks very secure in the net. He's played a strong game tonight for the Hawks, Mike.
8 shots, 5. The Blackhawks in this period in the game, 15-13.
And there's the reason this series is 3-0 for the St. Louis Blues. Curtis Joseph, he has been absolutely spectacular in the Blues net. And although the Hawks got one past him tonight, he's had a very strong game here as well, Mike. And there's the Blues goal scorer, Brett Hall. A nice goal on a point shot from Jeff Brown. Hall had good position in front of the net. As the shot's coming in, he just angled a stick and deflected it over Eddie Belfour's shoulder. And that gave the Blues a 1-0 lead. But Brent Sutter on a nice pass from Chris Chelios. 4-on-4 one time to pass Curtis Joseph. And we've had a pretty tight checking game. A lot of great, fierce body checks being thrown. A lot of activity along the boards and in the corners. And both these teams will be very tired. This has been a physically grueling game tonight, Mike.
Now, with all the tension that we've seen on the faces here, is this fun for any of these guys? I mean, can you call this fun?
Yeah, you're still doing what you love to do. You're playing hockey in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
It is Brown driving it back in. His team still with 1:20 to work on the power play. But it's cleared back down, and so Nelson Emerson will go to get it. Emerson and Brown, Hull and Janney and Shanahan. To kill for Chicago, Smith and Chelios with Rutu and Dirk Graham. Hull a pass. Brown with the take. A lot of Hawks near him, but he dumps it around the boards, and Belfour sets for Steve Smith. Along for Graham. Graham with a pass out to Rutu. It's a 2-on-1 with Chelios. Jeff Brown is back. Ruutu moves in. The pass broken up by Brown and thrown back off. Graham able to keep it alive and then back on for Ruutu. But now they decide to kill. A good opportunity, but also a strong play on defense by Jeff Brown. So back they go once more. The Blues taking on the tap from Joseph to Emerson. Long pass on for Shanahan. Marchment met him there. Shanahan recovered over for Janney. He wheels it back toward the point, but instead it's Larmer. 17 seconds, a pass over to Keith Brown, who leads it ahead. Big shot blocked away by Joseph. Sutter to play it, down to the last 10 for Chicago to kill, and the puck lifted to the seats, and so again play is stopped.
That's such a good play that Keith Brown made. The Blue defenders have been doing that a lot tonight, dragging their leg and holding their stick on the ice. I'm sorry to make that Jeff Brown for the Blues. Keith is on the Blackhawks. But even if that puck goes over the stick, it's going to be a difficult pass for the other Chicago player to receive. You see he's going to drag his stick, his leg right there. If Ruutu makes an aerial pass, it's still a tough reception for Chelios because there's a good chance it's going to bounce over his stick. So just by getting that stick down, you prevent a good play by the Chicago Blackhawks. That's sound defense by Jeff Brown of the St. Louis Blues.
Well, here's Roenick, hung up by 3 Blues, and escaping is Lemieux. He's in! Score! Jocelyn Lemieux! And it is 2-1 Chicago. A cluster of Blues had dealt with Roenick. That left Lemieux alone, and Roenick found him.
We haven't seen much of Jocelyn Lemieux today. Right off the draw, Roenick's going to stay with this puck. Here you see 1, 2, 3 St. Louis Blues. Who's got Lemieux? No one's got Lemieux one-on-one, and he puts it through the legs of Curtis Joseph. A great goal by Jocelyn Lemieux, and it just shows you the danger of a player like Jeremy Roenick. He really attracts the St. Louis crowd, who very alertly got the puck to Jocelyn, and the Hawks have a 2-1 lead.
First lead for the Blackhawks in a week. 2-1 with 3 minutes and 5 seconds to go in the second period. So the Blackhawks with some success, despite the fact that they've hurt themselves with penalties. Centering pass, flicked away. Miller up with it. Starts the march back out with Rich Sutter. Miller bumped into Rich Sutter, and it's played back ahead for Roenick again. Here's Roenick moving in. Got it to Goulet. Across to Lemieux, and a save made by Joseph. Nice three-way passing play there. It's sent to the front, and Barron tipped it back out. Corralling it is Chelios. So the big crowd has gone quiet right now. All with the only Blues goal in the first period. The Blackhawks with a pair in the second. And a pass across 2 lines stops the clock. We'll return to the arena in St. Louis in just a moment. Roenick, the primary assist and the only assist on Lemieux's goal at 16 minutes and 40 seconds. Blackhawks leading the Blues by a score of 2-1. Smith played some catch with Muni, and now it's Brent Sutter starting it ahead. He's got Noonan on the wing, but the pass went by. Noonan had it taken away by Shanahan, and because Noonan missed and Shanahan did not, it's an icing touch-up. Coming up, we'll join John Saunders for the Dodge Intermission Report. That all a part of our coverage on ABC this afternoon. From all across the country, right now from the arena in St. Louis.
Well, that last rush was a simple 3-on-3 through the neutral zone, but Noonan pulled away from Brendan Shanahan. Sutter just throwing the puck to a hole, and Noonan was almost able to catch up to it, and he would have had a clear line right to Curtis Joseph.
Went back through the record book last night. I don't know if it's a good omen for Chicago, and Chicago's fans are not. The Blackhawks have never lost 3 home games in a playoff series in their history. They've lost 2 in this one, and there was one that Curtis Joseph wasn't sure about. They've had 27 occasions where they've played 3 games or 4 games in a series, but they've never lost more than 2. And they haven't lost 4 since last year in the finals. All season long, they were the only team in the NHL that didn't lose 3 in a row. Catch more playoff action Tuesday on ESPN as the Toronto Maple Leafs take on the Detroit Red Wings. And next Sunday on ABC Sports, hockey's best will be one step closer to their ultimate goal. It's the division final of the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. Live action coverage continues next Sunday at 1 Eastern, noon Central on ABC. Roenick after it, pivoting away from Bob Bassett, gives back to Chelios, moving in, Chelios taken out of the play, and a penalty coming up to the Blues.
We mentioned earlier that Chelios would be bringing the puck to the net a lot. And what it does, it outnumbers the defenders because you've got a defenseman coming in off the point. You're out of position a little bit. You got to take him down with a penalty. We have a hooking call coming up. Very valuable player to these Blackhawks, Chris Chelios, killing penalties, power play. You see him there driving to the net. Miller gets the hook in, barring the goal by the Hawks. He'll sit out the next 2 minutes.
Kevin Miller, hooking call, 18:07 of the period. Chicago to go on the power play with a 2-1 lead. Sutter and Murphy and Roenick. Chelios and Smith. Two of the big snipers out there looking for their first goals of the playoffs. Chelios as well as Roenick. Murphy tried to get it through and could not. Drilled back down by Wilson.
With the man advantage, you're much better off to make passes around players, not through them. That's a real iffy pass, that one, and it kills about 15 seconds off your power play. Make the easy play and set it up, get the shot from the point.
Dump back in, and this might be icing. Hannikin was low bridged, and play is stopped. There'll be a penalty coming up to the Blackhawks, and that takes care of their power play.
Boy, this is about the third time they've done that today, been on the power play and taken a bad penalty, eliminating their offensive possibilities. You see Hannikin coming back to touch this puck up right here, and Roenick clotheslines him. A bad penalty by a very good hockey player, Jeremy Roenick. And Daryl Sutter has to be scratching his head, wondering why his Blackhawks continue to take these bad penalties. So for the next minute 33, we're going to skate 4-on-4. The Blues are sending out their offensive players. Janney's out there with Hull. You got Brown and Butcher on the defense. And the Hawks are going to leave Chelios on the ice, of course, and Smith. They log about 35 minutes a game. And a couple of pretty good offensive players, Steve Larmer and Brent Sutter. So we'll see what happens here. We might get a decent offensive flow, 4-on-4.
The last time these two teams met in the playoffs, the Blackhawks had 29 shorthanded situations in the first 4 games, and they were criticized for bad penalties. Well, coming up, when we have a blue out of the box, namely Miller, it will be their 23rd of this series that they'll have had to kill. They haven't killed them all. Smith with a shot. Stick plate went off the glass. Chelios watched there by Janney. Chris Chelios back along for Larmer. Larmer controlling on back to Steve Smith. Smith moves in, shoots one, and he didn't miss by much on that. Sutter lifting it along, and it went by Larmer. Off the back of the goal, played now by Brown. Shaken back on for Janney. In 40 seconds, that will be early in the second period, there will be a power play to St. Louis as Hull turns. Back to Brown. Drive! Oh, and that one didn't miss by much. Butcher having trouble. Puck swept along, Janney there. Brown was in the shooting hole and wanted it. Now he's got to move to it himself. He has Holland's shot! Blocked away by Belfour. A tough take for Brett Hull to try to get it to his stick and shoot quickly. Belfour tipping it behind in the final 7 of the period. Well, the outcome is in doubt. And the Blues will have a power play shortly after the third period gets started. 2-1 Chicago at the end of 2. We'll return with a Dodge intermission report after this from our ABC stations. Under the wooden dome of the St. Louis Arena, 2 periods have been played and the Blackhawks are in the lead 2-1. Let's check the scoring so far. Brett Hull on the power play from Jeff Brown at 16:09 of the first, 1-0 at the end of 1. But then from a face-off, it was Brent Sutter from Chelios and Larmer at 3:09, and then Lemieux from Roenick at 16:40. That's where we stand right now at 2-1. Observations on the second period.
Well, the Hawks had a great chance to really take control of this game. They finally scored on Curtis Joseph, but they keep thwarting their own offensive flow by taking bad penalties.
Well, earlier in the period with the game at 1-0, a face-off, and this is sort of a textbook thing. You try to score off a face-off, doesn't always work.
Well, it's a great play by Chris Chelios. Sutter's going to get the puck, scramble the draw, is going to go back here. Now, Chelios will bring it along the board. Watch Sutter right in the middle of your screen. He's going to get loose. Chelios sees him, and it's a one-timer. And this ends Curtis Joseph's shutout string against the Hawks. Brett Hedekin, this was right out of the penalty box, a breakaway from center ice all the way in. Belfour came way out to challenge, stayed with the shooter, made a big save. And then Roenick, very dangerous, draws the St. Louis crowd. You'll see 3 Blues coming to check Jeremy Roenick. That lets Jocelyn Lemieux come in unattended, in on Curtis Joseph. He pays a little bit of a physical price, but he gets the puck between the legs, and that gave the Hawks the lead.
And the penalty problem continued. Chris Chelios was given a roughing minor at the end of the second period for punching Brett Hull. And so 7 seconds into the third period, St. Louis will have a 5-on-3 power play for 27. And if you'll remember last Sunday, they scored in both ends of a 5-on-3 when they were trailing at the start of it by 1. So it'll be the 7th and 8th power plays for the Blues. And the Blackhawks get even closer to the number they had through 4 games last year that they had to kill off.
Well, you have to believe that Daryl Sutter went into the dressing room between the second and third period and said, listen, boys, we're leading this game by a goal. We've got a good game going. We're playing well. We finally scored on Joseph. We can get ourselves right back into this series, but you're going to have to use a little bit of restraint. We can't continue to take retaliatory penalties and undisciplined penalties. And if the Hawks are smart at all, they'll listen to their coach. You know it's been a major concern of his. He's got to get them to buy into it. If they do, they can win this game. They go back to the stadium, and now you're probably looking at a Game 6 back here in St. Louis. Nervous sticks might belong to the Blues.
Tom Mees had the eagle eye pinned on Chris Chelios the latter part of that period. What did you notice, Tom?
Well, Mike, I tell you, about 6 minutes to go in that second period, Chris Chelios and Brendan Shanahan went at it. Shanahan hit Chelios. Chelios took exception, came within about 2 inches of spearing Shanahan. Thought better of it then, but he obviously carried that chip on his shoulder. He was going to get even with somebody. By him getting even, it puts the Blues in a 2-man power play in 7 seconds.
So Chelios boxed. He was one of the men that Daryl Sutter said is a key to the team discipline. Daryl Sutter, performer for the Chicago Blackhawks for 8 years, then an assistant coach to Bob Murdoch, then 2 years on the farm. He won the regular season championship in Saginaw the next year when their affiliation shifted to Indianapolis. He won the Turner Cup championship of the IHL, then 2 years back with Mike Keenan as his assistant, and now in charge of it all.
He's certainly paid his Blackhawk dues, and he has done a remarkable job with this team. They had a very slow start first month of the season, but from that point on, really turned it on. And I think he's a very good coach, and will be with the Hawks for many years to come, regardless of the outcome of this series.
Brown and Janney and Hull and Shanahan are the 4. They have just picked up a 5th, and that is Miller, and the 5-on-3 begins and lasts for 20 more seconds. Shanahan in. His team trailing by 1 here in the third period. To the back to Miller. Across to Brett Hull. 12 left in the first minor. Janney to Hull again. Over for Brown. Shanahan to Janney. In front to Miller. Scramble there, but Belfour on top of it.
Oh, boy, what a nice setup. They want the shot to come from the slot. Miller's there. Shanahan to Janney. Janney very quickly the backhand out to Miller. But he can't get good wood on it. Eddie Belfour able to make the save. Great passing by the St. Louis Blues there, Mike. There's the pass, Janney. Look how quick his hands are receiving that pass and getting it out there to Miller. Miller just can't quite get his stick on it, and Belfour is able to smother it. This is not an easy play. Craig Janney to receive that pass. He was set up to receive it on the forehand. Very quickly backhand right away to Miller. Tremendous hockey player. Number 15 for the Blues, Craig Janney.
Janney and Shanahan and Miller straight across. Hull right point, Brown left point. 5 seconds left on the 5-on-3 power play. Janney has to get control. Swoops in and then sets up Hull, and he didn't miss by much, and out of the box it's Roenick. Jeremy Roenick starting in. Brown trying to catch him. Roenick spins. Backhander is saved by Joseph.
Well, you know what surprises me is that Jeff Brown was able to catch Jeremy Roenick. Jeremy Roenick, one of the faster skaters in the league, came out of the box, and he's got a breakaway from center ice in. Jeff Brown does a tremendous job of getting back, and Roenick has to put the brakes on. We're used to seeing Roenick continue his drive to the net there and make the defender pull him down. I'm a little surprised he stopped up there, Mike. That is not a typical Jeremy Roenick play. He's still got a great shot away in the spin around. But generally, when he's going with the speed, he just continues to drive to the net, and then good things happen for him offensively. You see today, 2 scoring chances, but only 1 shot on goal.
Blackhawks are still short a man for a minute 10. 19:05 to go in the third period. The Blues ahead in the series 3-0, but trailing in the game 2-1. Shanahan put it right into Ed Belfour with lots of time to look things over. Nearly gave it up to Shanahan. Hull with a drive that went wide. Miller had preoccupied Belfour in front, and it's Dirk Graham to pop it back out. 45 still for Chicago to kill, and for the Blues to operate on, but they give it up to Graham. Good hard shot. Played back to Emerson. Back across for Shanahan. Moving on with Janney. Craig Janney looks. He's got Kental breaking. Gives it over for Emerson. A pass away from Kental. And it's Janney again with 22 left power play. Hull with a shot that went wide. Keith Brown on the Chicago defense. But it's kept alive by Kental to Shanahan. Back over for Janney, who wanted it. Janney fed one in front. Hull scores!
Puck right there, and he fails to get it out, killing a penalty. That's got to go deep. Janney's yelling for the puck. He knows what he's going to do with it before he even gets it. Little fake to Hall in front of the net. What a great play by Brendan Shanahan, Craig Janney, and Brett Hull. As you see, Hull sent right up there for his second tip-in goal of the night. So watching that play develop, Janney was directing traffic. He wanted the puck. He signaled for it. He yelled for it. Shanahan got it to him. And he knew the minute he got it where he was going with it, to the slot on the stick of Brett Hull. And from Hull's stick behind Ed Belfour, we got ourselves a 2-2 hockey game.
Discipline, discipline, discipline. Keith Brown, a minor penalty after the goal was scored. That's the only one up on the board. That will give St. Louis another power play.
Oh, Daryl Sutter, boy, oh boy, oh boy, great competitor, and there was a disciplined hockey player. He always played under control. This has to be eating his heart away to see his team blowing these chances by taking undisciplined penalties. We can't state it enough. Here's the play by Janney, folks. Oh, little fake, freezes everybody. Look at Hull set up, perfect positioning. Belfour has no chance in the play. Oh, that was just a sweet, sweet passing play. Emerson in there, creating traffic in front of Belfour, a distraction. He draws a defenseman away with him. The Hawks have put themselves up against it again.
The penalty was a hold to Keith Brown. And so rather than after the play, it was on it.
Boy, are they rocking here in St. Louis now. My chair's vibrating. You didn't put a quarter in it, did you?
All right, now the big crowd gets quiet, watching the Blues wheel out on a power play that is their 9th. Emerson steps in, gets by. Save made by Belfour. What a rush by Nelson Emerson.
Coast to coast, Emerson, all the way through the Chicago penalty killers. And if not for a great goaltending by Eddie Belfour, it's a 3-2 Blue lead. What a fine play right from his own net. Boy, you dream about doing this when you're a kid. You want to wind up and go all the way. There's one Hawk, there's two, there's three. Splits the defense. And Belfour, realizing that Emerson does not have great control, comes out and forces the play. What a great move by Smith and through Chelios. Alert goaltending by Belfour keeps the score tied at 2s.
It is Emerson, then Janney. Shanahan close by. Janney took a swat from Steve Smith. That's enough to force him off, and Smith able to rattle one around that comes in front, but it's spiked back to the point. Emerson kept it alive. Shanahan off of Janney. Flicked back along by Smith, held by Brown. Drives one right into Belfour, and play is stopped.
Nelson Emerson kept that puck in at the right point. Brent Sutter came out to check him. They fell to the ice, and Sutter continued to rough Emerson up. And they exchanged words as they broke up. Emerson gave Sutter a little shot. Nothing further will develop there, but again, the Hawks trying to make the Blues pay a physical price. Better to have them pay a price on the scoreboard than a physical price. I strongly believe that the Hawks' better part of the game was when they were skating and going with some speed on the attack, using their speed instead of their muscle. They continue to want to play a very aggressive game against the Blues. And they spend a lot of time in the penalty box. We got a timeout right now. Chicago Blackhawks.
And the fans are going to make sure that it's hard for the Hawks to hear. Let's check in down below, where it's probably a little quieter with Tom Mees.
Not much, Mike. Let me tell you, you and Jim have been making a great point about how undisciplined the Blackhawks have been taking all these silly penalties. It makes it hard on their penalty killers, but you also have to feel for Ed Belfour. Belfour has played an outstanding game today, hasn't had much help from his teammates.
Belfour has faced 19 shots, Curtis Joseph 22. A minute 20 left on the holding penalty to Keith Brown. Jeff Brown goes back to take it. He and Emerson will work the points once the Blues get it set up. Hall and Shanahan and Janney as usual up front on this power play. Brown with a pass that is stolen and flipped along by Larmer but not out. Shanahan closed off by Larmer and plenty of room for the Blackhawks to clear it down. 53 seconds remaining on the penalty. We are still early in the third period, and glad you've joined us, along with Tom Mees and Jim Schoenfeld. Mike Emmerich from the arena in St. Louis, 2-2 tie, third period. Janney moves in, a shot by Janney, scores!
The St. Louis power play beating two Hawks up the ice. Now they've got a 3-on-2. And it's the trio. Hall to Janney, the fake to Shanahan, the one-timer. And it's a 3-2. St. Louis Blue lead. The key to the play, though, is the breakout. By passing the puck, they trap two of the Chicago forward penalty killers. It's a 3-on-2, and then it's just good passing execution, culminating in a terrific shot by Brendan Shanahan.
3-2, St. Louis ahead. Rich Sutter's pass went by Bassett. Belfour around to Marchment. Marchment shoveled one on, tapped by Rich Sutter. Miller unable to get by. Grimson flops it back, and Murray Barron controlling. Barron for the Blues, given a rough ride by Roenick as he turned that one back in. Belfour along, Lemieux given a jostle there by Miller, and a freight train hit by Basson as it's turned to the front. It is Zombo flicking one behind, Chris Chelios to take it over. St. Louis Blues with 2 power play goals here early in the third period have come from a 2-1 deficit to lead by 1. Under 16 minutes to play. Steve Smith there to get it. Pass misfires, and King Tall will take it in neutral ice and just blast it back in. Turning in tandem once again are Muni and Smith to play it. It's wrapped around for Matteau and brought back up by Brent Sutter. Angles one, hoping for Noonan. Noonan got there, but 2 Blues were right on him. Brent Sutter around behind, checked off, but he escaped. Brent Sutter pivoting for the Blackhawks with a pass that went off Matteau. Noonan to Matteau out in front, and he swept it wide. Tight checking that time by Ron Wilson, who's able to jab it back down. No icing this time, so Belfour will make a play with it. And Belfour just sweeps it up the boards, turning to take it is Noonan. 15-10 to go here in the third. Dirk Graham able to glove that one. Started it up the wing for Ruutu, but it's cut off by Butcher. Muni goes back. The follow-up comes from Janney, who's tripped up on the play. Dirk Graham starts it ahead with a pass up the wing for Ruutu. Wants to shake by Zombo, but no sail there. Back come the Blues, and it's Hall, firing one that's turned aside by Belfour. Marchment starts it back for the Blackhawks, and a pass went off of Graham. Then it's Zombo spinning it. Dirk Graham trying to get to it. Jostled is Goulet that time by Zombo, and Brett Hull takes over. St. Louis ahead in the game 3-2 with 14 and a half to go in the third. The Blues with 5 shots in this period and 20 in the game. The Blackhawks with 2 in this period and 22 on Curtis Joseph. Larmer is the first one to get to this, and he threw it across the goal now. Chelios dumps one in front. Scramble, but Joseph has it. It was bouncing around, but Joseph has it and play is stopped.
And the strong physical play continues. We see Miller, Basson, Jocelyn Lemieux along the boards. And there's Jeremy Roenick finishing a check right there on Barron.
Puck back to Chelios. An opening for Marchment. Fires one. Hit the post! Rebound back to Chelios. One-timer, and that one's deflected wide. There'll be a penalty coming up to the Blues. And so with 14:01 to go in the third, the Blackhawks will get a power play and a chance to knot it up.
Looks like Rob Schick is signaling another interference call. And he may have got hurt, maybe just holding his hand. He did cross his arm, so we'll wait and see what the call is. But here's the point shot, and it's deflected right there and off the post, had Joseph beaten. The way Joseph's playing, maybe that's all they gave him to hit was the post. Interference is the call as Zombo sits down the penalty box. This is certainly the Hawks' best chance to get back in the game, and we'll wait and see now, Mike, if we're going to blow another power play opportunity with a bad penalty.
Maybe a lesson learned by now. Zombo boxed on the interference, wrapped Chicago to go to the power play. As usual, Smith and Chelios the points. It'll be Larmer and Roenick the wings for Brent Sutter. Face off with Brendan Shanahan. Blackhawks have it. Smith shakes it back over for Roenick. The idea is to isolate. They can't play it where Shanahan sent it, and so again play is stopped. Let's check out the Bud Light scoreboard. Here it's 3-2 St. Louis. What about elsewhere this afternoon? The Penguins have won 14 straight in the playoffs, but that could go asunder. They're down by 2 in the third. Calgary and Los Angeles underway, and tonight, Detroit and Toronto, Vancouver and Winnipeg. Thrilling time of year. We hope you're enjoying it on ABC. Puck taken by Chelios and handed back on to Smith, then to Chelios. Shoots one, save made by Joseph. Rebound swept across. They were trying to set up Roenick. Roenick to the back. Steve Smith there, but fanned. Wilson, but it's Smith taking it. Steve Smith back on for Chelios. That one went off a teammate and is drilled back down. 30 seconds gone on the power play. 13:30 to go in the third. 3-2 St. Louis ahead. 3-0 in game. Chelios giving it back over for Smith. Pass over for Brent Sutter. Watched by Murray Barron. Pitches it to the corner, hoping for Roenick, and he gets him. Butcher did 2 in front. Sutter a shot. Falling block made by Murray Barron. Joseph had gone down, and Sutter was headed high with the shot, but it didn't get there. Off of Chelios, it's cleared. Chelios again has it knocked away by Rich Sutter. Rich Sutter moving in. Down to the ice he went. Up with it is Christian Ruutu. 45 seconds still to go on the Chicago power play. Ryan Noonan for the Blackhawks. Butcher for the Blues. Rocked him to the boards. And it's all called back on an offside.
Some tense moments for the St. Louis Blues. Chicago applying good pressure. Curtis Joseph equal to the task. Butcher's had a strong game today, throwing his weight around. Bob Berry hoping that clock speeds up a little bit. There's Roenick using his speed, beating the Blues to the puck. And here's the chance by Sutter, and Barron goes down, helping Curtis Joseph. Makes the block with his left glove. Nice to see defensemen bailing their goaltender out. A bang-bang play. No guarantee that Joseph could have gotten over in time to make that save, so a very big block by Murray Barron.
The Blackhawks have to go back. Keith Brown waiting behind. Brown sliding it across now to Marchment. Marchment pivoting, Wilson on him, back across to Keith Brown. Brown drilling it back around, slowed down by Joseph. Butcher tried to put it back up the boards, and around it comes for Jeff Brown of St. Louis. Keith Brown of the Blackhawks kept it alive. Good keep by Keith Brown. Noonan lost it though, and Miller starts it ahead for Ron Wilson. But it's Smith lobbing one to the boards. Ruutu put the hit on, and so did Noonan on Wilson, who gets back up to play it. Joe Murphy for Chicago. The penalty has been killed. The teams are at full strength. Kevin Miller is down in the corner and hurt. The play moves back up ice. Christian Ruutu bringing it on. And offside is called. Miller's okay. The play is stopped. 3-2 St. Louis in the third.
When bodies are flying, sticks will be flying. There you see Kevin Miller crashing in, and he gets a stick in the chin by Chicago's Keith Brown. He's on the bench, and he's doing fine.
Emerson on the draw. For the Blackhawks winning it is Troy Murray. Muni sails it back in. Joseph watches as Barron plays. Murray unable to close him off, but it's given up to Troy Murray. He had Graham in the shooting hole, but tight checking by St. Louis prevented anything there. Around behind it came and along for Sutter. Working it back for Lemieux. Hoisted loose by Feltner. Centering past Barron, but he's kept from behind by Murray. There'll be a penalty coming up. An elbowing call. Chicago will wind up with a power play and a chance to tie the game.
Rick Zombo has had a very strong game for the Blues today. And I don't know that that was such a bad play, just a little over-aggression. And he's going to sit out for elbowing. But he has had a very sound game from the blue line in today, Mike. He's made good positioning, good hits. And right there, he gets the elbow up a little high. That's a good call by referee Rob Schick. He has called a pretty good game today. He's let them play, he's let a lot of things go, but flagrant calls that can injure players, he's made the good call on. And I think he's kept this game in pretty good control, because games like this have a tendency to get a little ugly with the emotions riding this high.
Off this face-off. Brent Sutter tried to dig it loose. Along the boards they scrapped for it. Steve Smith couldn't get it on, bringing back it up. It is Wilson. Wilson trying to shake through. Pawed right down by Chelios. And it is Steve Smith back ahead. On now for Roenick. Roenick a shot, and that went off a leg. Rebound in front, and Joseph blocked that one from Larmer. And it's clear.
Well, with only 11 minutes remaining in the third period, you would think this might be Chicago's best chance to tie this game up, Mike.
It is Smith blasting it back in. Sutter there to get it. Around behind for Larmer. Scooped around the boards for Roenick. Roenick had to dive. Smith a shot. Knocked away by Butcher. Larmer around behind. Aaron on him. To the point it comes to Chelios. Back over for Smith. Chris Chelios waits and fires, and that's blocked back out by Miller. Chelios, a good reaction to hook it across. And will take over now with a minute to go on the power play to the Blackhawks and 10:20 left in the third. 3-2, St. Louis ahead. Blackhawks and Blues. Only once in the prior meeting as St. Louis won, and that was in '88. Angled off the boards, and Joseph with a faulty clear. It is Keith Brown working it in deep. Ruutu to the back to Marchment. Each one to the side. Deliberately they set it. Noonan drives. Save made by Joseph. Rebound. Turned into Ron Wilson, who recoils to play it back around the boards, and it is kept alive by Keith Brown. Goulet flipped it behind, and Ruutu could not get to that one. The Blues cannot clear, though. Cantal gets it as far as center ice off of Noonan's stick, but still 12 seconds to go to Chicago on its power play. No power play goals for the Blackhawks today, and only one in the series. 6 seconds left on this one. How are you down there, Tom Mees?
All right, Mike, I was thinking, sports is funny. Brendan Shanahan right now is a hero in this game for the Blues. Once upon a time, Shanahan was very happy in New Jersey. The Blues signed him as a free agent. New Jersey wants compensation. Who did the Blues offer? Rod Brindamore and Curtis Joseph. The Devils were not pleased. They ended up with Scott Stevens. The Blues having their cake and eating it too. Shanahan has scored their leading goal in the game, and Joseph has been unbelievable.
I asked Bob Berry yesterday about players who have raised their game another notch for the playoffs. He didn't mention Joseph. I said, what about Joseph? He said, oh, he did that 2 months ago.
Well, if not for Curtis Joseph, the Blues would not even be in the playoffs, so certainly they owe an awful lot to that young man. But today, the entire St. Louis team has played a very strong game against an excellent Chicago Blackhawks team.
Jeff Brown drives it down. Full-strength hockey, and Belfour nearly gave it away to Shanahan. The big scoreboard clock shows 9:10 to go in the third, and the Blues ahead 3-2. Murray rolling it back in. Murray Barron takes the tap from Joseph. Back up the boards, and the one-time attempt by Muni failed. Steve Smith again, hawked by Felstner. Played it along for Murray. Steve Smith trying to follow through. Lemieux yanks it on his backhand back out. Murray Barron goes over to get it. 8:45 to go here in the third as it's deflected back along off the linesman. Sent further by Lowry and casually blocked away by Belfour. They try for Matteau. Closed off by Rich Sutter, but jostled out of the play by Muni. Good hit that time by Basson on Roenick, and it's taken by Lowry. Rich Sutter to the corner. Steve Smith with a good shoulder crunch on him. Sutter trying to hold it to the boards, and Smith there as well. Two aside, continue the war on the wall, and a little pawing by Roenick and Lowry, and then Smith steps in. More snarl to this game that the home team is leading. Jeremy Roenick looking for a solution here, wanting to get this game tied up. First, it's the face-off opposite Bassett. 3-2, the Blues ahead with 8:16 to go in the third period. And right now, an equipment problem, apparently, for Rich Sutter.
Just a change of sticks. Looks like an aluminum shaft from up here.
Yesterday, Rich Sutter fooled me again. He wore Ron Sutter's helmet on the ice, and I thought Ron was making a quick comeback. And then he said, keep a secret. I'm coming back next week. I bought it. Identical twins. Ron is out until next fall with that shoulder separation. Back on now with it, and being bumped off on the play was Joe Murphy, so it's Russell taking it. Clock has just ticked under 8 minutes to go in the third period. Blues ahead 3-2. Offside pass, and the clock stopped once more.
This has been a grueling game for both teams. They have made it fierce along the boards, in the corners. Every inch of ice has been masterfully worked for. Boy, it's been a tough game to play.
Let's check the Bud Light scoreboard. The Devils have forced a fifth game and the 14 consecutive playoff win streak has been shattered. Los Angeles trying to even that series in their tie. Tonight, Toronto will try to do the same to Detroit. And Winnipeg needing a win to even things up against the Vancouver Canucks. Murray Barron brings it on, lays it back in. So Chelios will go back to get it. 7 minutes and 42 seconds to go in the third period. Chris Chelios, defenseman for the Blackhawks, on to Brian Marchment. This one skipped in deep, there'll be no icing. Rick Zombo driving it around. Marchment checked off by Brett Hall. Played by Sutter, but kept by Lowry. Lowry leads ahead. He's got Janney breaking, but he couldn't take the pass and get by. So he settled for the first. Martin jostles with Lowry. Played along by Chelios. Brought on by Larmer. Moving up with Rutu. Good hit. That was Zombo again. Emerson moving in. Nelson Emerson, but Steve Smith foiled him. Coming by is Goulet. Clock shows just under 7 minutes now. Shanahan rolling it around. Gonna jostle was Feltzner. Shanahan, or check that, Emerson tried to play to Feltzner again. But Shanahan with a big rocking hit on Chris Chelios, and the Blackhawks come out 2-on-3. Rutu cannot get through. Swept along by Joseph. Kept by Larmer. Larmer in deep for Goulet. Around behind. Jeff Brown had his stick held, could not get to it, and then Goulet bumped into him. The Blues bring it back up ice. Bob Basson has Rich Sutter, who directs him to dump it in, and he does. Belfour, little trouble behind. And still some trouble. And a big hit by Basson on Muni. The character of the Blackhawks is the thundering hit. But it's the Blues who are uncorking them now. 6 minutes to go in the third. 3-2, St. Louis ahead. Murray Barron over after the puck. The Blackhawks have to chase, and they make a change. Icing. 5:50 left, and the fans again are standing.
You wonder how long they can keep up this tempo and this physical wear and tear. Brendan Shanahan, a monstrous hit on Chris Chelios. And you know that's got to feel good because Chelios has handed out a lot of big hits himself today. And he is a tired hockey player. Boy, he's logged a lot of ice time again today, Mike.
You'd think that by this time of year, guys would be worn out. But they get a second kick. An extra shot of adrenaline. With Tom Mees, with Jim Schoenfeld, Mike Emmerich from the noisy arena in St. Louis. 3-2, the Blues ahead. 5:50 to go in the third. 3-0 in the series. Coming up after this, the biggest gymnastics event of the year, the World Gymnastics Championships from England.
The Blues are skating like they're on a mission right now. It's like they can taste it. Take a look in their eyes when we pan the bench. They're keen, they're all intense. They're just raring to go, and some of the body checks that have been thrown. When they have a chance on a dump in, better than 50-50 chance of getting the puck, they're going in with speed and they're taking the Hawks out. If they know the Hawks are going to get possession, they're stopping, they're shutting down the passing lanes, and then attacking the neutral zone with good angles. It's a good plan by Bob Barry and the St. Louis Blues.
Special teams can do it for you. They've done it for St. Louis. All three Blues goals have come on the power play. You saw Keith Brown, who was in the penalty box for the last power play goal that was scored that broke the tie. Unlike other penalties today, his was for a hold. It was on the play in which the Blues had scored a goal. And that was not one of the more undisciplined ones. But the one by Chelios at the end of the second period was. Well, Russell and Brown are watching at the back. Fed back around and through. And Keith Brown to get it. Roenick connects with Sutter. Blocked away by Barrett. Thrown back in by Wilson. Bell 4 behind. Corrals it for Russell. 5.5 minutes to go. Sutter feeds it ahead. Played by Roenick. Tipped loose for Graham. Started back up by Russell. Flopped back to the corner. Going to get it is Lowry. He and Roenick tussle for it on the boards. Unable to clear Zombo. Second effort, though. Rick Zombo shaking loose around behind his goal. Dumps one back off, and it's down.
I've never seen Rick Zombo skate as well as he's skating today. Boy, he has had a tremendous game for the Blues.
Brown sent that one around behind, and Zombo checked off from behind. Good work by Larmer, but the follow-up comes just as well from Bob Basson. Ridden off by Larmer. Under 5 to go. Rich Sutter pops one wide. Kevin Miller buzzes around to get it and wiped out. Chelios given a good hit. Back ahead with it. Now comes Larmer. Check that. Lemieux with a pass on for Ruutu. Larmer to the front hoping for Lemieux's pass. It is Rich Sutter. And it is out. This one will be icing as Marchment touches up. 4:24 to go, third period. The Blues leading the Blackhawks 3-2. Well, there you see the vital statistics. Steve Smith has been in tough situations before. You don't go through tough situations on the way to winning 4 championships, which he did with Edmonton. Here at this wonderful old arena in St. Louis. New one on the drawing board and actively being worked on. January of '95 for it, but the old house is seeing a good one for the home team today. Chelios shook that one back off, and Butcher flips it back out. Chelios with a pass on over to Marchment with 4 minutes and 12 seconds to go in the third. It is Chelios back over for Marchment again. Marchment with a pass that went away and back down. Turned along by Jeff Brown. Troy Murray stepped in 2. Up with it is Lowry. It's a 3-on-2 for St. Louis. Lowry moving in. Met nicely by Chelios and a good crunch by him. Chelios has trouble with Wilson, and so Troy Murray comes in for the smear. It is Chelios with 3:45 to go in the third now. Hustling it back out for Joe Murphy. Murphy out of Michigan State dumped that one for the corner. Rick Zombo there. And there's a little pass on for Brendan Shanahan to bring back up. Shift change on for St. Louis. Muni knocks it down. It's forced further. Ed Belfour has to set it up along to Steve Smith, who checks the clock. It shows 3:20 to go. Back up with it comes Goulet. Driving it in. Murray Barron there. Tipped one. Roenick a drive. Oh, and Joseph got a piece of it, and it sailed into the seat. Roenick let go his best. Joseph got a piece of it. The fans got the rest, and here's John Saunders.
Jeremy Roenick tees this up from the slot, and boy, does he let a rocket go. I don't know if it hit Joseph or hit the crossbar, but it stays out of the net. It's going too fast to even see. What do you think, partner?
I think that did catch the iron. It looked like he waved at it now that we saw it slowed down.
It looks like it went over his shoulder and just caught the top part of the crossbar and went into the crowd. What a blast by Jeremy Roenick. 3:14 remaining in the third period, and the clock has become an enemy of the Chicago Blackhawks.
Off the face-off, puck forced around. Laid back out again by Wilson. Muni on to Goulet. And across to Larmer again. Larmer tries to get by Barron in front, save, rebound, score! Roenick! And the game is tied at 3. Jeremy Roenick on the rebound. A tie game with 2:58 to go in the third period.
Tremendous play by Steve Larmer. Keeps his legs going, drives to the net, drives to the net. Joseph has to go down to take away the bottom part of the net. You'll see right here. Here comes Larmer. He's going to get a half stride right there on Barron. And there's the rebound, and there's Jeremy Roenick, and we've got ourselves a 3-3 hockey game. And we're 2 minutes and 58 seconds away from overtime as the Hawk bench says yes!
So our game is knotted, and the clock gets down to the smaller numbers. Puck lost to the back of the net, 2:50 to go in the third. Well, Jeremy Roenick had to deal with 7 days of still being scoreless and thinking about it. Now the fans go away from the rink. They don't think that much about the game constantly, but it's on his mind all the time. But he got his first playoff goal, the one that tied it up. Marchment back in, off the glove of Jeff Brown. Brown with a pass that's gloved by Janney, in with Hall, 2-on-1. Janney couldn't get the pass away. The defense was Marchment. Centering pass knocked down to the high stick of Lowry and slugged away by Marchment. Now Chelios starts back up. 3-3 the score with 2 minutes and 25 seconds to go here in the third period. Dirk Graham spun one in front and Joseph snapped it up. Catch more playoff action Tuesday on ESPN as the Toronto Maple Leafs take on the Detroit Red Wings in Game 5. And next Sunday on ABC Sports, hockey's best will be one step closer to the ultimate goal. It's the division final of the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. Live action coverage continues next Sunday at 1 Eastern, noon Central on ABC Sports.
Well, if Craig Janney has a fault, it's that he doesn't shoot. Boy, he would fool everyone in the building if he would have just shot that. As it is, he's waiting for Brett Hall, and Brian Marchment goes down and makes a good defensive play, knocking the puck out of harm's way. In a situation like that, Craig, I'd like to see you just crank it up. There's a good chance it would go in the net.
Greg Muni goes back. Miller on him. Followed through by Shanahan. Shanahan trying to get loose with it, pops it back in. Delayed offside is wiped now as the Blues clear the zone. Muni hands it over to Steve Smith. Smith just feathers it back down, going to get it as Murray Barron. Cleared it off the boards and back out. 1:55 left in the third. Belfour spirits it ahead to Roenick, who just taps it back in. This will be icing. The chant of Let's Go Blues comes up from nearly 18,000 fans watching here at the St. Louis Arena. The face-off will come back near Ed Belfour.
And they got to take it. Brent Sutter. He's won most of the face-offs he's taken today. Troy Murray's coming on as well. That gives you two centermen in case one gets thrown out of the face-off circle. Coach Darryl Sutter taking no chances on this face-off with 1:46 remaining in the third period. Janney, Hull, and Lowry for the Blues, so you know they're cranking up the score, and you've got Big Brown at the point. Jeff Brown and then Butcher, the defensive defender, at the right point. So Janney's going to try to win this thing back to Brown at the point. And of course, Sutter would like to scramble or win it in the corner. And you'll see Sutter cheat a lot in this face-off because there isn't a real danger if he gets tossed. Troy Murray can go in and win the draw as well.
It's won by the Blues, and a shot by Hull skipped wide. Steve Smith rocked to the boards and glass by Lowry. The battle continues. Janney tried for Hall, and Sutter comes up with it and lays it back out. 90 seconds to go in regulation. If we're still tied, a full intermission, followed by something that is not at all new to this year's playoff, sudden death overtime. Here's Emerson, back in with Shanahan, fires, and a save by Belfour.
What a save, Eddie Belfour. Well out, challenging the shooter, but he's got to stretch long and far with that left pad and left glove to make the save on Nelson Emerson. What a great play Shanahan makes at the blue line to stay onside. He expects to get the puck. He doesn't get it. See him straddle the blue line there? That enables Emerson to continue, but look at Eddie Belfour. He's way out top of the crease. And a tense moment for the Blues. Is it going? No, it isn't going. We'll get him next time. Great play by Emerson. Great play by Shanahan, and a spectacular save by Eddie Belfour.
The Eagle slightly painted on the side of his helmet mask. Ed Belfour watches the same face-off from a different angle than what you and we are seeing here from center ice at St. Louis Arena. A shot by Hall, blocked down. It is Shanahan. Janney couldn't get his stick free. Zombo with a shot, and it went wide. Shanahan out in front for Hall, but it's taken by Dirk Graham. Down to the last minute of regulation. Graham with a pass, and it skipped off Larmer and down. Joseph out of his net. It is Ruutu, held by Janney to the boards, and then he pulls off trying to knock it along. Still they scrap for it. 45 seconds to go now. Graham across. Chelios a shot. Came right to the glove of Zombo. Back out, but Chelios kicked it on. A hit on Ruutu by Brett Hull. On with it comes Zombo. Cranks the shot. Making very sure with Belfour in the last half minute. Chris Chelios lobs it back in, and Jeff Brown to play. Brent Sutter burrows back to take him as a forechecker. Around it came off Goulet. Checked by Rich Sutter, and it's drilled back down. There'll be an icing. Back to touch this up as quickly as he can is Muni. 15.6 to go, and the Blackhawks have an offensive zone faceoff.
Boy, it's a big faceoff coming up here for both teams, Mike. The scud line out for the Blues. Rich Sutter to take the draw. I guess brother Brent for the Blackhawks. And Brent has won a lot of offensive zone faceoffs today and defensive zone. He's an excellent faceoff man, so this will be a good matchup. Rich is making his way to the bench. Shanahan comes on. Shanahan is sent out to take this faceoff. So you got Brendan Shanahan against Brent Sutter. Last two confrontations, Sutter won them both. Back to the point. And Shanahan was out killing penalties, and the main reason he's not one of the regular penalty killers. It's solely for face-off purposes, and then he'll quickly go to the bench. He lost the draw, and he ended up getting the puck and icing it. But with 15 seconds left, Shanahan versus Sutter. Who will win this duel? And if it is won, will the Hawks get a shot on goal, or will the Blues be able to clear the zone?
We'll get the answer as Randy Mitten is set to drop it. One back to the point to Keith Brown. Pulls away from one. Brown flips it, blocked away by Butcher. To the last 8. Shoveled up the boards. Keith Brown able to keep it alive. Through Goulet. Back to the corner once more. Down to the last 2. Centering pass. Miller shakes it back off. And we will have overtime.
Well, if you like spectacular goaltending, if you like great scoring and passing plays, and bone-crunching body checks, stay tuned, because if the overtime is anything like these first 3 periods, that's precisely what we're going to get. Sensational National Hockey League Stanley Cup playoff action. Boy, these guys are tremendous athletes. I can't believe they've got anything left, but I know when they come out, they're going to give us the same show they've been giving us for the last 2.5 hours.
The theory is ended quickly. 20 games have been completed in these Stanley Cup playoffs, and 8 of the 20 have gone to overtime, and 2 of those to 2 overtimes. This is the 21st and the 9th that will take extra time. Okay, John, thank you very much. If you're just joining us, or if you want to reaffirm your score sheet, we give you the summary for the 3rd period. Brett Hull, 2-2. From Janney and Shanahan at 1:48. Then St. Louis ahead, another power play goal. Shanahan from Janney and Hull at 3:09. And then Roenick from Larmer and Goulet with just 2:58 to go. And as a result, we're going to sudden death overtime. And this has been a thriller so far. And I would imagine both teams are just going to come out barreling here at the start of the overtime, because nobody wants to go long in this thing.
Oh boy, they've been barreling since the drop of the first puck. I don't know how much more these teams have left, but it has been a grueling 3 periods of hockey.
There were some beautifully scored goals in that period, too. Let's take a look in review at the 3 goals that were collected.
Well, Chicago's Keith Brown has the puck here. He wants to clear it. He doesn't get good wood on it. It's kept in. Now, Brendan Shanahan is going to end up with the puck. And Craig Janney is already yelling. He's out of your screen. Now, Janney gets the puck. He knows what he wants to do. He sees Brett Hull, a little fake. And there's Hull for his 2nd tip-in goal of the game. That was a big goal for the Blues. Power play goal here by Brendan Shanahan. You'll see 1 pass traps, 2 Chicago penalty killers. We've got a 3-on-2 Hull to Janney, the fake to Shanahan, the one-timer. And that put the Blues in the lead. A great goal by Brendan Shanahan. Steve Larmer is going to get the puck here off of Goulet, and watch him just keep his legs going. He's going by Murray Barron. Joseph has to go down to make the save, and Roenick and puts the puck in the empty net. Moments before that, Roenick had been stoned as the puck off a rocket went off the crossbar, so that's poetic justice for Jeremy Roenick. He's had a strong game, a strong third period, and we expect a very strong overtime out of Jeremy Roenick and the Chicago Blackhawks, as well as Brett Hull and his St. Louis Blues.
Let's check in before the opening face-off of overtime with Tom Mees.
All right, Mike, and for the Sutter family, deja vu all over again. Last night in Buffalo, Brian Sutter coached the team on the road facing elimination. They went overtime. They lost. Obviously, Darryl did not pick up the phone and talk to his brother. He doesn't want any part of the result we saw last night in Buffalo. Mike?
There are 3 players on these teams that have scored an overtime winner. Murphy with Edmonton twice. Brent Sutter with the Islanders twice. And for the Blues, Brett Hull twice. Against Minnesota in '89 and against Chicago last year in double overtime. And we are underway with overtime, and the pass comes from Barron to Basson. Kevin Miller to Basson and offside. We want to remind you that World Gymnastics Championships from England will be coming up as soon as our game is over. The records of the goalkeepers in overtime: Curtis Joseph is 2-0. A win over Toronto in 1990 and over the Blackhawks last year. Ed Belfour, a win and a loss. The victory over Edmonton last year and the loss to Minnesota in '91. Dominic Hasek was the goaltender for Chicago when Brett Hull scored against the Blackhawks last year. Ahead with this now comes Roenick. Pass across to Larmer. Fires a shot that is deflected away. Larmer spun one to the front. Basson after that one, but Chelios got there. Help came from Larmer. Knocked away by Barron. Roenick unable to get to it. Flicked away by Basson. Taken by Zombo. Blackhawks in the midst of a change. Murray Barron's pass. Forced in by Rich Sutter. Complete change by the Blues. Janney and Hull come out. Lowry remains. Butcher and Brown to be in back. Pass came back off now for Noonan. Noonan cranks a shot. It went off Brown. Fed back for Noonan again. Brown to test him to the corner board. Noonan and Brown still canceling. So Lowry there, chased off by Sutter. Garth Butcher reaches a stick in. And Rob Schick blows the whistle. All right, Jim Schoenfeld, former coach of Buffalo and New Jersey. What's your philosophy in situations like this?
Well, I think your desire for gain has to be greater than your fear of failure. So you stay within your game plan, but you go for it. I don't think you lay back and hope for a break. I think you go out and you try to win the game as quickly as possible. Not much open ice out there. Both teams checking very closely to start this overtime. Every face-off in the offensive zone becomes so vitally important. One shot ends the game.
Jeff Brown with it. Early part of the first overtime period. Brown sends it all the way back, and Belfour there to force it around for Marchment. Brian Marchment for the Blackhawks, stepping it ahead with a pass on to Brent Sutter. Noonan directs him to play it to the corner, and he does. Jeff Brown flicked it off Matteau there, canceled out quickly by Janney. Floats one for Shanahan, but it's gloved along by Chelios, and then another glove play by Janney. Break Janney along for Hull, tries to return it. Back checked away by Brent Sutter. Pass slowed down by Hull, sent ahead for Janney, who's got a step. He's in. A save made by Belfour. Oh, the defense just caught him at the last moment.
Lassoed him.
Thrown along by Shanahan. Shanahan dumped one in front. Oh, and it popped off of Belfour from Janney. Off the outside of the goal it went. Shanahan again trying. Hooked one in front. Janney poking away at it. Still trying to get a backhander away. Backhand fought off by Belfour. Scramble. And he's on top of it, and play is stopped.
Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. What action. Well, Bob Barry's certainly going for it. 5-on-5, we haven't seen this combination together. This is their power play unit, Shanahan, Janney, and Brett Hull. But Bob Barry liked the matchup. And the Blues are all over Eddie Belfour. Great goaltending by the Chicago netminder. There's another one on Janney. Shanahan threading beautiful passes out front, and the last one through a crowd right there. Shanahan ready for the rebound, but there isn't one as Belfour pounces on it. They get a whistle, and 5 fresh players on the ice for the Chicago Blackhawks. What a great shift by the Blues.
They've made a change now, bringing out Ron Wilson with Emerson and Felsner. 23 saves for Ed Belfour in this afternoon of Game 4. His team down 3 games to none. Wilson tried to hack at it, but Ruutu got in the way. Muni shifts from defense to offense for the Blackhawks with a pass that he gets back again from Dirk Graham. Ridden off by Felsner, the puck escaped Joe Murphy's grasp, and it's thrown back off by Zombo. Felsner tried to brush it by, could not. Dumped back along by the Blackhawks, but again corralled by Zombo, and ahead for Ron Wilson. Wilson played one that's punched away by Belfour, kept alive, and then down to the ice went Emerson. Puck skipped back down. Curtis Joseph out to throw it back off. Benny Felsner out of the University of Michigan plays that one ahead to Emerson. Emerson a drive, and he didn't get a thing on that thanks to some checking by Joe Murphy, and the play went offside.
Good play by Murphy coming back neutral zone. The Hawk defenders are standing up to the blue line, and he times it perfectly as Emerson goes to dump the puck in with a slapper, getting his stick between the blade of Emerson's stick and the puck. Results in an offside, and 10 fresh skaters come onto the ice. Rick Zombo, there's my pick if the Blues win. I think he's had a whale of a game. He's not known as a goal scorer, but I think he deserves a goal the game he's played. He's been as good a defenseman as there has been on the ice all night long for either team. Very solid in his own end, moving the puck well, getting his forwards on the attack. Complete all-around good game by number 4 of the Blues.
Zombo and Murray Barron, the defense combination used by Bob Berry now. Barron a pass that hit off Cam Russell's stick. Flipped it back off. It's hung up in the linesman Randy Mitten and sped back to Keith Brown, and then bringing it back on as Larmer. Hacks one wide. Goulet there, hit high and hard by Rich Sutter. Blues trying to clear it but can't. But it's skipped by Russell, and so the Blackhawks have to go back. 3 shots in this overtime period, all off St. Louis Blues stick. And all off the net now scramble. Offside called again.
The little things that make the great players great. Steve Larmer bringing the puck in the neutral zone. He could just dump it in. A lot of guys dump it in mindlessly and aimlessly. It ends up in the goaltender's stick and is quickly cleared. He makes a good cross-corner dump, enables the breaking left winger for the Hawks to get in there, and they come up with possession of the puck. It's just a little thing, but so many players don't think when they dump the puck in of getting possession. Larmer had that in mind. He wanted to make sure his Chicago Blackhawks came up with a puck, so he dumped it in intelligently.
Stanley Cup action now. World Gymnastics Championships from England coming up as soon as this game ends. Sudden death overtime. The tie score is 3. 16:20 to go in this overtime period. First goal win. Muni back to play it off the wall for Matteau. Chased deeper by Garth Butcher. Steve Smith has to help out. Smith for the Blackhawks, right back on for Matteau. Now they trickle it through for Sutter, and he can bring it on. Chopped off his stick by Brett Hull, lifted back by Lowry, but brought on by Smith, and he connects with Noonan. Forced off by Butcher. Brought on by Jeff Brown, and Emerson moves in with Lowry. Drive, save, rebound, poked away. Handling that on defense after Belfour made the stop was Craig Muni. But the Blues got a 2-on-1 out of that one. Pass ahead now for Emerson again. Nelson Emerson on for Jeff Brown. Brown backhands one well wide. Emerson the first one to that. Muni followed through on him. Steve Smith, the big defenseman, takes over for Chicago. Smith just gliding back out with 15:20 to show on the scoreboard clock here in sudden death overtime. Ken Paul to take it for the Blues. Ken Paul lays it on for Felsner, then a pass that escapes near guard Butcher, who is coming to the bench for a change. Meanwhile, it's dealt along by Emerson, and here's Felsner in. Felsner trying to get to the front, and he's forced right back off with authority by Chelios. And the St. Louis fans say illegally. But a good play on defense by Chelios, and then Lemieux with a rocking hit on Zombo. Jocelyn Lemieux goes back for more on Zombo, and he got a pass through for Wilson, then on for Lowry. Gave it up to Chelios. Kane Tall with it for the Blues. Drives it back in. 4 shots in this sudden death period. All from St. Louis sticks. We will have icing. Brown for the touch. And Belfour sees the face-off closer to him.
That big hit by Jocelyn was because Curtis Joseph thought that was going to be icing, so he let the puck go, and Zombo thought it was going to be icing. The minute he touched it, wham! Jocelyn Lemieux let him have it into the boards. And this is Emerson coming across, got a 2-on-1 with Dave Lowry. He elects to shoot, and a great save as Lowry is a little late getting to the rebound. Felsner's going to the net. Watch Chris Chelios, top of your screen. What a great play. He gets a stick in, knocks the puck off the stick of Felsner, and then takes Felsner to the ice. A real good defensive play by number 7 of the Hawks, Chris Chelios.
Ed Belfour has probably lost at least 10 pounds in this game this afternoon wearing that 30 pounds of equipment. LA leading Calgary 2-1 in that game. This one is tied and requiring extra time to settle. Brett Hall lifted it back in. But it's out, and play is stopped.
Craig Janney was just dumped inside the blue line. And Brett Hall's wondering when Janney's going to get him the puck so he can crank in the game winner. A little extra shot as Chelios comes off the bench. Dave Lowry. I think Lowry and Zombo have thrown more hard checks tonight than most teams do. Complete teams in a regular season game. Boy, they've had a fierce game. And of course, it's wearing on Chris Chelios. He doesn't like to be run all night long. I guess nobody enjoys that part of the game. Well, I picked my blue to win it. Let me see. My Blackhawk, I would have to say either Romick or Sutter. They've worked extremely hard tonight, and they deserve a crack at the game winner. How about you, partner? Who do you think? Or who would you like?
I think it's going to come from a defenseman.
Right?
Chelios for Chicago. And Zombo to finish it off for St. Louis.
No, I picked Zombo. You can't pick Zombo.
Oh, we don't have to be contrary here.
Okay, all right. Oh, we'll see if we jinxed him or we sent him some good vibes. We should know soon.
Marchment back. Jostled off by Nelson Emerson. Around behind, it's taken by Ruutu, and Ruutu moves it ahead for the Blackhawks, nudging a pass on for Joe Murphy. Back to Ruutu, and Butcher sped it off. Dirk Graham a pass, corralled by Jeff Brown. Brown flops it ahead, Ruutu going back, Felsner right on him. Ruutu able to sweep it out, drilled back in by Emerson. Late offside is wiped, the pass went under Felsner. Chris Chelios back, Felsner right on him. Chelios trying to get away with it, had Ruutu close by. They battle for it, and it gets as far as neutral ice. Graham one-on-one with Butcher. Graham a drive, deflected into the seats.
You talk about doing the little things right. Garth Butcher, big wind-up by Dirk Graham. You just get your stick down, you deflect it over the glass. Good battling along the boards by Chris Chelios to get that puck up to Dirk Graham. They haven't let up in the hitting one bit, have they?
You are watching Stanley Cup playoff action, sudden death overtime on ABC. Equally skilled athletes with less equipment coming up from England. The World Gymnastics Championship. Roenick on the draw with Bassett. Brown with a shot that went wide. Russell sent one wide. Larmer steps to this and sweeps it behind. The clock less a factor. The next goal ends it whenever it's scored. Goulet behind. But if you're curious, 13:20 left in this first overtime. The tie score is 3. Roenick with it. Feeds it across. Russell a shot, and it went off Joseph and wide. Big hit on Basson by Larmer. Still they scrap for it, and Basson able to lift it back out. Cam Russell wheels ahead for the Blackhawks. Back up now for Noonan, and we have a player hurt. Kevin Miller of the Blues is down at center ice and being tended to quickly by Tom Nash.
Chicago defenseman Keith Brown gave him a real good crank into the boards. And it seems to me that Rob Schick has put his whistle in his pocket. There have been about 3 calls or 3 plays that should have been called or could have been called penalties that were in the first 3 periods. And that's not a good signal to give the players because it gets to the point where you have to make a call and then you really put a team in a bind. Better to call the game in the overtime the same way you called the first 3 periods of hockey. At least the players know what to expect. And it all started with Janney's chance early in the overtime when he was pulled down from behind. And Miller took a real good crank right into the boards. From Chicago's Keith Brown, he's up on his feet, he seems okay.
Before play resumes, let's hear from Tom Eaves.
All right, Mike, that hit may have been out of camera range. Some folks may be wondering if it was a clean hit. In my opinion, it was a very clean hit. The bad part for the injured party was that, again, the lower ribs met the top of the board, and as Jim Schoenfeld can tell you, those boards don't have much give to them.
Yes, I think I would have to agree with you there, Thomas.
Rob Schick has called an overtime penalty, as the Boston Bruins and their fans well know. In Game 3 of the Buffalo series, he whistled off Ray Bork, and the Sabres won in overtime on the power play goal. Zombo fires one that cracked off the glass and is taken by Chelios. Chelios wrapped it around Lemieux there. Oh, and did he ever step into Basson? Puck lifted back out and down again by Marchman. Pulled along by Joseph to Barron, then on for Basson. Basson flips one that's nudged back by Marchman, and again an offside call.
Boy, it's tight checking out there, very close quarters. Outside of about a 7, 8, 9 second flurry by the Blues, there really have not been any scoring chances, but the hitting continues. Oh, a big shoulder. Jocelyn Lemieux into Bob Basson. Look at Basson maintain his balance though. That's taking someone's best shot and still being there to answer the bell. A real good hit by Jocelyn Lemieux on Bob Basson.
The real tendency to start calling minor penalties in overtime changed the year you were coaching New Jersey in 1988. To my accounting, there had only been one power play goal in Stanley Cup overtime up until then, and that was in the 1980 finals by Dennis Potvin against Philadelphia. But the calls are very common now to be made. Not in this overtime yet. It's dumped around now for Matteau. Two aside, continue jostling for it. To the back it comes now for Emerson, but the pass stolen by Noonan. Because of Emerson's hockey, plenty of time for Jeff Brown to get back. Into the glove of Joseph. Steers it ahead with a big goal stick, and it's nudged back out to Brendan Shanahan. Moving ahead with Emerson. Has Brown trailing two, and the play went offside.
That's a very alert play by Curtis Joseph. He caught the puck. He doesn't want to have a face-off in his own end of the rink. He jumped to a hole. He quickly put it to the ice, up to Shanahan, and then the Blues are on the attack. That's alert goaltending, and goaltending like that enables your team to play a lot of the period in the opponent's zone.
Bob Berry, 3 years with the Los Angeles Kings as their coach, 3 years Montreal, and 3 with Pittsburgh. 4 years an assistant coach in St. Louis, and this year head coach, named the day before Halloween. And he had an above 500 record, taking over a team that was definitely sub 500 at the time. Marchman back on. Midway point of the first sudden death overtime period. Trying to clear it on. Stu Grimson that time. Ken Tall threw it around. Graham checks off. Chelios there. Chelios tries to flip it along and can't. Punched by Ken Tall. Janney wanted to flip it back out. Chelios cut that off. Back across for Troy Murray. Watched by Zombo. Big drive and a save made by Joseph on a strong shot by Stu Grimson. It is Janney breaking his boson. Troy Murray checking him so that Belfour can play, but it went off skates. Janney fights his way to the corner. Two players are locked up, and the Blues fans protesting. Obviously, it's to the Blackhawks' advantage to try and keep a guy pinned back in their own end of the ice, and play is stopped. Icing is called. The booing continues.
They're still dancing. They just separated. Philippe Bozon and Troy Murray. They were entangled for quite a while. And there they are. Let me go. I'm not letting you go till you let me go. Well, I'm not going to let you go till you let me go. Look, ref, it's not me. Neither player wants to give the other the freedom to move. The fans didn't like it, and they littered the ice a little bit, so we'll have a slight delay. as linesman Randy Mitten picks up the debris. And the scud line is on the ice for the Blues.
Catch more playoff action Tuesday on ESPN, Toronto-Detroit. Next Sunday, the third of our Stanley Cup Sundays on ABC. 1 Eastern, noon Central on ABC Sports. Basson and Roenick for the draw. Basson wins it. Zombo shoots it, and it went wide. Poulet paused with Murray Barron. Sent across to Roenick. Watched by Zombo. Roenick crosses. Feeds to the back. Russell a shot. Blocked away by Joseph. Rolled around behind. Rich Sutter there. Stepping by is Jeremy Roenick. Roenick a pass. Back to Brown. Drive went wide. Basson tries to reach it. Russell couldn't one-time keep. More deliberately now, but it's taken by Basson. Basson pestered by Roenick. Here come the Hawks again. Moving in is Larmer. Larmer a shot. Oh, and head high. It went to the glass. Basson has Felsner breaking and gives to him. Felsner moving in. Backhander save made by Belfour, and he'll wait.
Man, oh man, from one end to the other. Steve Larmer definitely thinking high. Curtis Joseph, Daryl Sutter thinks goes down, so he's telling his players to go upstairs. Now watch this rocket. It's upstairs and almost tears the head off of Curtis Joseph. You missed the net, and now you've got a transition for the Blues. Felsner turns up the Jets here. He's past Keith Brown, but he can't get far enough past him to pull the puck to his forehand. Has to take the backhand shot, and Eddie Belfour well out in good position. Not only makes the save, but very importantly, covers up the rebound.
Belfour 25 for 28 shots. Curtis Joseph 29 for 32. Overtime tie right now is 3 as Craig Muni takes the puck. Muni a pass up to Dirk Graham, flies it across. Quickly Matteau on for Sutter. Oak checked away by Garth Butcher. Follow-up comes from Steve Smith. Joseph stops, and it's taken by Jeff Brown. Drilled back off, and Shanahan crossed with Muni. Graham a shot, turned wide by Butcher. Butcher nudged off by Sutter. Shanahan once again flips one back on for Felsner. Speeds it for Emerson, but it went just by him. Emerson trying to get there, and Muni, with all that experience, closed him right off in an icing touch-up.
Players like Emerson, Roenick, still great speed in their legs. The stamina of these hockey players is absolutely remarkable. Jeremy Roenick seems to be getting stronger as this game wears on.
Got his first today that tied it with 2:58 to go in the third. Sutter and Lemieux. Hull with a pair. Shanahan one for St. Louis. Gymnastics from England will follow.
Both coaches still using most of their bench. They haven't really shortened it up that much yet, Mike. So I guess they're settled in for what they think might be a long overtime.
One of the better Blackhawks chances came from a guy that's waited a while to get out there, Stu Grimson. Joseph wedged off by Lemieux. Meanwhile, Murphy outdueled by Rick Zombo. Zombo able to play it while falling across. Brett Hull dumps it in. Blues in the midst of a change. Big hit by Lowry. Puck sped back off, and Janney put one in front. Scores!
thinking on the ice. Always thinking on the ice as the Blues come up. There's a dump in here. You're going to see Belfour get taken out of play as he has to make a save. There he is behind the net. Now the puck's going to come to Janney. Boy, his eyes lit up like saucers here. Look how quick. He knows that Belfour's going to have a tough time getting back. He just throws it to the net. And the Blues have eliminated the Chicago Blackhawks in a spectacular hockey game. And are they happy here in St. Louis?
An emotional end. Since '87, when the first round became best of 7, only 2 division champions have been swept 4 straight in the first round. Chicago and Boston last night. ESPN's coverage Tuesday. ABC's Sunday. For Jim Schoenfeld and Tom Mees, Mike Emmerich from St. Louis. A sweep for the Blues.